So.
Could everyone take your seats, please?
Young people are here.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take it. Good. Okay.
Yeah, everybody's here.
We'll call this meeting to order. Would everyone rise for the invocation? And would Reverend Roy Allison, would you please come forward and lead us in the invocation?
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for this time, Lord. We especially thank you for this beautiful city of Bonita Springs. Lord, as we come before you, we ask that you would be with the men and women who have been placed in charge of making decisions for this city. Lord, that in all that they do and all that they say, they would remember to use wisdom, that you would provide them with that wisdom, and their decisions would result in charity and justice for all people. Lord, we pray that all those who come to this meeting, as they present their items for discussion, Lord, that they would do so with a loving heart, and that the decisions made here would bring you great joy. And we ask this in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Councilman Slacker, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman McIntosh?
Here.
Councilwoman Martin?
Here.
Councilman Slechta?
Here.
Mayor Nelson?
Here.
Councilman Simmons?
Here.
Councilwoman Simons?
Here.
Councilman Lockhart?
Here.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. Not that we're in church, but beat that, Reverend. Oh, he did. He's gone. All right, good deal. We are to public comments on agenda items. And the way this works, as you approach the microphone, if you would go ahead and give your name for the record. And also, is this for agenda items only?
Okay, Rick Steinmeier. I'm referring to number 15 in minutes. My comment was about the $6,000 appraisal fee on that property that was purchased on Old 41. Not necessarily the price of the property, but $6,000 to tell somebody what the property was worth. Seems like an awful lot of money, and I haven't gotten any answer on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Bob Hilleter, resident of Bonita Springs, and a member of the Bonita Springs Lions Club. I'm here this evening to solicit your support for approval for our permit to operate a farmer's market at Bonita Commons. The Bonita Lions Club, since the early 70s, has operated a farmer's market in Bonita Springs, and this has allowed us to earn funds that we give back to our community. Several years ago, the folks at the Promenade asked us to come and move our farmer's market over there. During that time at the Promenade, we have more than tripled our income from this market. This year, we were denied our request to go back there, and therefore we're going to Bonita Commons. In that light, I come to you and ask you, as well as all the citizens of our fair city, to help us to find a permanent location for us to run a farmer's market, so that when we build our business and we get these funds that we can give back to the community, we don't have to continue to start over every time we exceed in what we are doing and have our landlords tell us they will not renew our lease. So if you would please keep that in the back of your minds and help us to find a permanent location. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mayor Nelson and City Council members. My name is Catherine Lau, and I'm honored to be the president of the Bonita Springs Lions Club this year. I'm here also this evening to ask you to follow city staff's recommendation to continue to grant a farmer's market permit to the Lions Club exclusively on Saturdays at the market's new location in the Bonita Commons on US 41. across from where Bonita Bay and Pelican Landing meet. Since 1972, our Lions Club has relied on its Saturday market to raise funds that go directly back to our community. Along with our thrift store, pancake breakfast, Wednesday farmers market, and other events, the Saturday market has contributed to the Bonita Springs Lions Club being recognized as a global leader, often as a #1 Lions Club worldwide in fundraising and community service among 45,000 Lions clubs in over 215 countries. We often don't advertise what we do, but we are also too busy getting the work done. Tonight, I want our mayor and city council to know your partnership with the Bonita Springs Lions Club is one you can be very proud of. Our Bonita Lions family spans all generations from 12 to 92 and is a diverse membership. One of our newest members is Farmer Mike, who will help us set up the market every Saturday. In the last 10 years, our Bonita Springs Club has donated over $3 million to charities benefiting our community. At the same time, we build an eye clinic that has provided free services to 1,500 patients this year to date, providing eye exams, diabetes follow-ups, glaucoma screenings, laser surgeries, and funding for major eye surgeries. Our clinic has just received a prestigious award from the Florida Society of Ophthalmology and is now a certified provider for pediatric ophthalmology. Our volunteers regularly conduct eye screenings for thousands of children and adults in Lee and Collier County. Our Bonita Springs Lions Club also supports worldwide sight-saving programs, measles prevention, and disaster relief. Last year, we helped lions around the world plant 7 million trees. Last year, we were pleased to donate $40,000 towards the natural playground known as the Lions Pride Park. This year, our club was able to spend $5,000 on the drinking fountain for the Lions Pride Park and donate towards the Veterans Memorial in Riverside Park. We annually contribute $6,000 plus to our Bonita Springs Assistance Office, which was founded by the Lions Club and local ministers. We provide $30,000 a year in college scholarships to local students, regularly fund grants to Bonita Middle and the 2 elementary schools, contribute to the Estero High School Medical Education Program, and our Bonita Springs Boy Scouts. We are a significant contributor to several local programs for the developmentally challenged, the Literacy Council, Gabriel House in Fort Myers, which cares for orphans with severe medical needs, the Bonita Springs Historical Society, the Bonita Girls Little League, the Salvation Army, and the American Legion. I thank you, Mayor Nelson and City Council members, for your kind consideration of our request, and as always, we'll remain here to serve you all.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Deborah McLean, publisher of the Banana Peel, and I'm here this evening to speak about the overlay and how pleased I am with our new emphasis on controlled growth. We have worked for several years to create ordinances to keep out a bad element. We are being tested in court and winning, and I would hate to see us take a step backwards by not following the direction of the will of the people of Bonita Springs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to remind everybody, too, that there will be public comment on items 9A through 10D at each one of those individual times. So if you wanted to wait until that individual item was spoke about, then you can make the comment then, so it will be fresh on our minds if you'd like to do that. But you're welcome to come up now, too, as well. But anyone, come on up. Hi.
Good evening. My name is Jean Baer, and along with my business partner, Betsy Ventura, we are here representing Local Roots, LLC, and are the company that has been asked to operate the farmers markets by RLR. We began operating farmers markets here in Lee County 6 years ago with RLR Investments, the new owners of the Promenade. And we currently operate the Sanibel Island, Lakes Park, Fenway South, and Coconut Point farmers markets, and would be adding the Bonita Springs this year. One of the reasons they've come to us is we have a little bit of I would hope, a different vision, hopefully in keeping with what the city is looking for in our farmers market, not probably the size that you have seen before, maybe half the size, more food vendors, not the crafts and resale items that people had brought before. We would be operating a much smaller market. We also take great pride in the fact that each market that we operate, we allow a non-for-profit booth to come in there and talk about whatever the cause may be for them coming up this season. We know there are so many organizations throughout Lee County and here in Bonita Springs, whether it be maybe the Alzheimer's Association, the American Cancer Society, the PTA. We let them come out each week, have a booth, and explain the different programs that they may be having to heighten their awareness. We've had a tremendous amount of vendors that have created a great business and a great following at the promenade, and hope that you will consider allowing the market to continue there. These are many small mom and pop organizations that have built a business, whether it has been their strawberries, and they've built a great following for somebody that may want to come and buy their strawberries, or their handmade soaps. And hopefully we did forward some of those letters on to the council. I hope you had the opportunity to see that, as well as the video that was put together by the city of Sanibel on the success of our markets there. We'll be working with the DeRosa's Market and Deli, which is the largest store that's going to be going into the promenade, to really embrace the whole concept of buying local, eating local, how to use that food and incorporate it into your everyday diet. So we're looking forward to a strong relationship with them. And I know it's a big decision as you look. Your ordinance itself does allow for 2 farmers markets on a Saturday or on the same day, so I would just ask that you take a look at that and determine if you feel that Bonita Springs and Lee County can handle that. We're hoping that it can. If not, possibly the Lions Club could continue to operate their market on Wednesdays like they have. The promenade can only operate on Saturdays because of the parking situation, that they would need to go into the overflow parking. So to move to another day with a promenade is not an option for us. That's the only day that we're able to do it there. So we thank you for your time. We are a professional company operating farmers markets. We take it very seriously. We have a great following of vendors. We have a great following of clientele that come to our markets, and hope that it would stimulate the surrounding businesses here in Lee County as well that would follow to the Local Roots Farmers Market. So thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you for coming. Next speaker, please.
Mayor, council, thank you.
Hey, Charlie.
How you doing? And congratulations to the Lions Club on all their achievements. It's amazing to think that we have like one of the number one Lions Club here in our city. It's tremendous for us. I'd like to speak briefly about item 10B, and I'm going to ask that you use your memory and your imagination. If you remember the artist rendition that's been rolled out in the last few months, I think it's by John Leese of Fort Myers, that shows what downtown could have looked like. It's very useful for us. It helps pull together the vision. I think it's pretty much an agreement. It's a lovely and useful work. What I contend and question is, does it match the intent of your planning and regulations? When I look at the drawing, the best I can remember, there's maybe 2, 3 3-story buildings at ground level, meaning 35, maybe 40 foot high. Your regulations that you're considering again tonight give a maximum 52 feet above floodplain. So now we're up 60-something feet high to the eave. We haven't counted the roof yet, so roofs have to have their equipment, etc. So you're another 5, 8. You're up 60, 70 foot high. And if I was a developer, or most developers are going to want to maximize their profits. They're going to want to make it as intense as they can. I mean, and I wouldn't blame them. So right there, I think, does it really match the drawing? I applaud you about considering walkability and the architectural style, but what are 0 setbacks? What does that really mean? I mean, if you've driven by and seen the new dollar store, imagine that up and down Old 41, or one store like that, and another store hit, another thing. How's that going to give to the feel? Right now, you walk down Old 41, it's breezy, it's open, you feel like you can bicycle without falling into traffic or smacking into a building. It's very pleasant. Do we really want that? We're not downtown Fort Myers. We're not downtown Arcadia. We don't have that style of architecture. So to design for it with our regulations, I don't know, be careful what you, I would say wish for, but in this case, we're actively planning for it. This also leads me to the zoning. We're still 15 units, possibly even 20 units per acre. It seems definitely counterproductive to the goals of a preserve America community that we are. In other words, you've got that, not, some of us like some of the buildings on Old 41. That's us. Do we want them to be there? Yes, no, we say we do. We say we like that historic structure. Putting 15 units per acre, pretty much, I hate to use the word doom, but you have to look at economics. Now's the time before the next turnaround in the economy comes to be considering this. Thank you for your attention and your time and service.
Thank you very much, Troy. Anyone else this time, please come forward.
Hi, good evening. My name's John Goodrich. I'm the Vice Chair of the Estero Council of Community Leaders, and I'm here to again urge the City of Bonita Springs to cease and desist from your efforts to annex properties within the unincorporated area of Estero. The residents of Estero have asked us to go forward to seek a referendum for them to vote on the question of incorporation of the village of Estero, and we have begun that effort. We will be asking our local state legislators to move forward a bill to bring about this vote. Since Bonita Springs has stated that they believe the city's efforts to be in the spirit of letting the people decide their future, so we ask the city to waive the 2-mile buffer and let the residents of the village of Estero to make that decision too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Anyone else this time? Again, these items 9A through 10D, you will have opportunity at that time to speak at that time as well. Hello.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Bram. I'm the Director of Property Management for RLR Investments. We are the new owners of the Promenade at Bonita Bay. I'm here to request approval for Local Roots to operate their farmers market at Promenade on Saturdays. The last few years, RLR has purchased several properties in Bonita Springs. We've renovated each of the properties as we're doing now with the Promenade, and we've created numerous jobs in your community. We purchased Promenade last year with the intention of having Local Roots run their farmers market at the Promenade. They started out with us in the parking lot of Tahitian Gardens on Sanibel and did such a top-notch job that we pursued them specifically for Promenade. We did our due diligence and understood that this was feasible to have a farmers market on Saturday at the Promenade. We have numerous leases pending with tenants, and they are all counting on Local Roots Farmers Market, as they know that the farmers market brings much needed traffic to the plaza. So we are just requesting that Local Roots will be approved to run their farmers market on Saturdays at the Promenade. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else this time? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, and we will go to the consent agenda. Council, what's your pleasure? And take your time. We have items A through G. Is there? Oh, I skipped something. It's a co-pilot, an actual co-pilot. Yes, pardon me. Presentation of the quarterly report by the Economic Development Council. How could I forget that? No. I want to see Christine up here. I'm just kidding. Come on. Sorry.
Usually people forget what I say after I say it, not before.
I'm sorry. Who are you?
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Richard Mancini, and I'm here as the Chairman of the Board of the Bonita Springs Estero Economic Development Council, and it's my pleasure to be here with you again. You've got a full agenda. I'll be very brief. This is one of our regular, as requested by the Council, quarterly updates on the activities of the Economic Development Council and what we've accomplished and where we hope to be going over the next quarter, the next year. I hope you have all received, I know you received in your package, and I think you received a prettier version of the same thing this evening, which is a printed report of the activities, and I'll just highlight a couple of those for you. To date, the Bonita Springs Estero Economic Development Council has handled 64 specific requests for assistance with relocating or expanding companies. And the reason I want to define that a little bit more, I don't want anybody to think that we've only answered the phone 64 times. These are qualified leads that we've identified. We get literally regularly calls and website hits and information requests all the time That's not what these are. These are actual leads from businesses looking to relocate or expand in the Bonita Springs Estero market. We currently have 5 confidentiality agreements in place, which are businesses that we are working with directly to find locations and to help them with their process. We have a list of the activities and accomplishments of the EDC over the past quarter. You can take a look at those. We've obviously assisted with a number of businesses. Activity is brisk. The numbers look really good. There's a lot of attention focused on our market, not only internally but externally, because of the national attention that we've been receiving and because I think of the work that the city and the EDC has been doing to make that all possible. Again, the second page of your report identifies some news articles and television presentations that were done over the past quarter that have to do with economic development and some of the successes that the city and our economic development agency have been able to do. And I wanted to focus a little bit because I think it's an important number. I remember when we first started coming to talk to the council and solicit your help and partnership in what we were doing, one of the things that we talked about was there was a lot of vacant space in Bonita Springs and in Bonita Springs and Estero. And we were all concerned about that, and we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we could to help fill that vacant space. So I'm very pleased to report that the numbers for vacancies have gone down substantially. And we're down to, and I don't want to minimize the number, it's still too big, and we're going to continue to work to make it smaller, but we're down to just over 1 million square feet in commercial space that's vacant. That's a lot, but when you look at it from a percentage standpoint, in 2012, as an example, Class A office space in Bonita and Estero, the vacancy rate was just over 34%. Currently, the vacancy rate's down to 31%. Class B space went down from just over 29% to just over 21%. That's an annual absorption of either between 2%, 3% for the Class A space and 8% for the Class B space. Those are very encouraging numbers, and we're only halfway through 2013. So I wanted to highlight those for you. And again, the third page of your report shows the activity that we've always talked about, expanding businesses, new businesses, getting licenses to operate within the city limits. And those numbers are on page 3, along with the number of jobs projected to be created by those. We've got a lot of activity. We've got a lot going on. As many of you may recall, when we first started this, we kind of phased out over time what the Economic Development Council should be looking at. And we're at a point now where we want to start focusing more on our internal, external marketing activities. We've established an incredible relationship with the city and the staff and the partnership that we work on every day. We've got a good working relationship regionally with the folks at Lee County and the Horizon Council. And now we want to take some of the resources that we've been able to put together and focus on marketing the Bonita Springs Estero area and get some more of those high-profile national and regional companies to look at us to understand why Bonita Springs and Estero really is the place you ought to be doing your business.
Good deal.
Any questions?
Thank you. Councilor, do you have any questions for Richard? Martha, go ahead.
Well, I remember when we started out on this venture, I think we had 1.5 million in vacant space in Bonita.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're including Estero properties, so we're now at 1. And last year, Bonita was down 495, I think. So that says to me that the $100,000 that we put forward for economic development just helped Estero get new placements. Right. So, thank you, neighbors. Okay.
I'm having a problem with that math, but go ahead.
No, the math's good. Because we're down to 1 million, and you had done work this year, significant, that we see in the numbers here, so that you're not just using Bonita's 1.5 million. We're expanding it regionally now, so that there is more office space that we're filling than we had calculated last year.
And just
Go ahead and make a question out of that. Go ahead.
I do have a question.
if we only had 1.5 million, if we had 1.5 million vacant in Bonita only, and now we've only got 1 million vacant in Bonita and Estero combined, then we've taken down more than 500,000 square feet
Absolutely.
of space.
In
so
Bonita.
That's in Bonita, because otherwise Estero would be 100% occupied. And that at someday we'd all love to see everybody 100% occupied. But that's not the case. So I think we've taken down more than 500,000 square feet since we started this process. So I think it's a very positive thing for the city as well as the market that we're working for.
I agree with that. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Okay, so how are you finding locations for people? I know, I had forwarded a lead and, it was suggested that maybe the city could help find locations through our community development or something through some kind of software. How are you actually locating the kind of Class A office space and the other kind of industrial and all that? How are you doing that?
The same way we've been doing it all along. There's a program that we have that identifies that space. Obviously, if we've already worked with existing buildings or worked with existing developers, and we know the space exists,
Sure.
and it meets the general criteria of the candidate, we'll make that lead available to the business looking. But we can do through CoStar a search of, and we've been able to do that by zip code, so we can narrow it down depending on the search criteria given to us by the lead.
That's one of your partners has CoStar or something?
Yes.
Okay, great partner, thanks.
Okay. Council? Yes,
Just a
Steve.
quick- Richard, how do you know, let's just take Source Center Lake or any other business when they add five additional full-time equivalents? How do you know that at all?
Unless they tell us, or unless we happen to ask them right after it's been done.
Yeah.
No, there's really no way to tell that until we start going back on an annualized basis. And so they may have added 5, and then lost 1 or 2, and then added. I mean, businesses are always fluid, and we hope the numbers generally trend to the addition of jobs, but really no way to capture that number at any particular
But
point
I do
in
know
time.
there's 3 new full-time employees coming into Bonita from New Jersey, so that makes it good. That makes it good.
And again, I think one of the things that we've talked about internally from the EDC is we need to do a better job making sure that the current businesses in Bonita understand that they need to tell us, because not only do we need that information, it's good for us to have, but we'll be able to kind of show them off a little bit. And I don't know a single business out there that doesn't want their name in the paper a couple extra times for free. So, I mean, it's a synergistic relationship.
Good, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Bill, go ahead.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, Councilman.
Could you, at the end of the year, will you tell us, with the contribution that the city has made, Estero, will we be able to see a number in terms of dollars at the end of the year for the money that's been used or expended?
Yes,
So
sir.
I have I like this, I always like these things because it's beautiful paper and all that, but I don't know where the money goes, other than the fact that it's being used to bring businesses to the city.
We were talking about that just the other day as we were preparing, because our fiscal year end is coming up here pretty soon, and we plan on making a full presentation to the city. And one of the things I remember we've discussed, you in particular, but the council as a whole has discussed over the 2 years that we've been doing this now, is a return on investment number. Let's look at how our dollars have actually affected dollar for dollar, and we are absolutely going to have that number for you when we do our year end presentation.
And do you think we can expect some revenue or ECCL to contribute to more than $1,000? I don't have any idea. I haven't talked to anybody.
Yeah, we hope so. We've got partners from the Estero community, the Estero Chamber, ECCL, Bear. They're all investors in our EDC efforts. And, obviously we want all of our investors to be so excited about what we're doing that they want to make additional investments because we're being so successful. But, ECCL obviously is a unique kind of creature, and I leave it to them to decide what they think the proper investment in this economic development effort should be.
I thank you.
Thank
Good.
you.
Anything else? Yes, David.
Just real quickly, there are a lot of issues going on right now between what we describe as Estero and Bonita Springs, but my position has always been and continues to be, we have more in common than we do not. And the EDC is one of those things that it should be the bright shining star for us, because whatever happens and whatever Estero is and whatever Bonita Springs is good for both of us and good for South County. So thank you for the work.
Thank you, and we agree with that sentiment, and we work well together. And again, we can use Hertz as the example. I mean, I know that the real impacts are going to be a couple of years down the road, but we've already started to feel them, and I know firsthand that there have been a couple of pieces of residential property already sold to executives from the corporation who have come down, and those were within the city limits. So the benefit is for everybody.
Good. Good. It's nice to use the expression collateral benefit for a change, isn't it?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Pleasure.
Okay, and now we will go to the consent agenda.
Sir.
Okay, council, what do you have? We've got items A through G. We also have a walk-on, if you're not aware of it. Audrey, would you kind of explain that walk-on for us, please?
The errata sheet.
Thank you. Yes, you have in your errata item a green sheet 1308-218. It's one generated from Public Works asking to accept the donation of a portion of Rosemary Canal from D.R. Horton. The city would accept it for maintenance obligations.
Okay, we'll call that item H just for kicks. Council, do you have anything would you like to pull, or what's your pleasure?
I'd like to pull B, please.
Item B? That you're good? Yeah. All right. Would you like to approve the remainder?
So move.
Motion to approve the remainder?
Second.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slechta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Okay, Bill, item B.
I just have a question. Oh, there she is.
I'm here.
What participation are we going to have from the kids that live in Bonita Springs with this particular?
Currently, most of the children that are in the program, because this would be the second year, they've been under our contract. We have about 30 kids, and about 20 of those live in Bonita.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll move the item.
Good. We have a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Slechta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, council. Now we're to item 8, and this is the first reading of an ordinance. There is no public comment at this particular one. Would you like to read an ordinance, please?
Yes, and that's because it's a particular type of ordinance. This is an ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, to repeal in its entirety Bonita Springs Ordinance Number 0010, last amended by Ordinance Number 09-15, to replace the personnel management system of the City of Bonita Springs, providing for an effective date. This is a first reading. The second reading will be heard on August 21st, 2013, in these chambers.
Okay. Council, what's your pleasure?
Move it to the second reading.
Motion to move second reading. Is there a second to that? Okay, any discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye. Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slechta?
Aye.
Okay, what do you got next for us? Item 9A, I believe.
And this will have public comment. This is an ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Lee County, Florida, extending the territorial limits of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida by the annexation of unincorporated tracts of land owned by WCI Communities and Pelican Landing Community Association, lying contiguous to and being in the same county as the City of Bonita Springs, Lee County, Florida, located in Section 7-8, Township 47 South, Range 25 East. It's 135.75 approximate acres, assignment to City Council District 1, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading of the ordinance. The ordinance will be scheduled for a second reading and final public hearing on August 21st, 2013. I have reviewed the notice of the affidavit of publication, and it is legally sufficient. The meets and bounds description is available at the city clerk's office, if anybody desires to have fun looking at that. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to help.
Okay, council, before we go to public comment, or do you have any comment or any questions? I think everyone is familiar with this. Okay, at this time we will go to public comment. If any members of the public wish to speak on this matter, please come forward.
Yes, Rick Steinmeier. I can see why Pelican Landing, would like to join in this group. I just wonder who initiated this.
People.
I've never heard who came up with this idea in the first place.
Okay, thank you very much, Rick. Anyone else this time?
Mayor Nelson, City Council members. My name is Marie Martell, and I'm the General Manager for Pelican Landing Community Association. And the board has asked that I come and speak to you on their desire to have the Coconut Point Marina annexed into the City of Bonita. All of our amenities are in the City of Bonita already. And now that we've purchased the marina, we wish to have this also included. We have a great working relationship. We like to thank you for all of the help you have given us saving our beach. Without the city of Bonita, I believe we would not have a beach. So we desire to have the city councilman and the mayor annex our property into the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time? Please come forward.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tom Hart. I'm the counsel for the Pelican Landing Community Association, and I just wanted to tell you that there was a unanimous board of directors vote by the Pelican Landing Community Association to ask you to annex their property into the city. And this was intended to answer the gentleman's question. This is a request by Pelican Landing. They have a long-term track record of working with the city. As Ms. Martell just told you, we've had a great relationship with the city. When they need help, they get help, they get answers, they get access. And importantly, this marina's primary purpose, it's a vacant piece of land. It doesn't have residents on it. Its primary purpose is to allow the shuttle boats from the Pelican Landing Beach Park to arrive, pick up Pelican Landing residents, take them to their beach park, and bring them back. And it just makes sense that a marina that serves that primary purpose would be a part of the city because the beach park is part of the city. So I think you'll find that the community wants it, that the community initiated it, and we hope you'll approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Anyone else this time? Please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name's Dave Caldwell. I'm a manager with WCI Communities. We're one of the petitioners for the voluntary annexation of lands we own in the colony area of Pelican Landing. And also to answer the gentleman's earlier question, it is our request to come into the city with our development lands that are currently in the county. It's being developed as the Cielo condominium off of Coconut Road. We were anxious to have all of our development lands within the city because some of our development lands are already in the city. We have a great relationship working with city staff and the city in total. And but our Cielo property was in the county, so we deal with county staff on that. We'd like the consistency of dealing with one government entity for all of our development. This is the opportunity to do so. The second reason is also to cooperate with the Pelican Landing Community Association. There's a large strip of preserve areas between the lands the PLCA owns for the marina property and the existing city boundary line. That land is owned by WCI. So we, working with the PLCA, their interest in coming into the city, it meshes with our interest as well. It's a joint effort on both parties to bring forward to you this voluntary annexation. We think it makes sense, and we hope you'll consider that for approval.
Mr. Caldwell, thank you very much. Anyone else this time? Please come forward on this item. Seeing none, council, what's your pleasure? Would you like to send this to second reading?
Second reading, please.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Simmons.
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons.
Aye.
Councilman Longcart.
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh.
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin.
Aye.
Councilman Slackton.
Aye.
Mayor Nelson.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. And we're to item 10, second readings on public hearings for the following ordinances. There are public comment on each one of these items too, or is it not?
Absolutely.
And as they all exit, I'm sure you'll be nice and quiet. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Audrey.
Okay. And the first one is an ordinance of, thank you, is an ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs amending certain sections of the zoning ordinance that relate to agricultural districts, amending section 6-54, the private development regulations for agricultural districts, amending 4-3273, construction of single-family residence, nonconforming lots, providing for conflict, severability, codification, inclusion in code, Scrivener's errors, and an effective date. This is a second reading. The ordinance was originally heard on July 17th. When the City Council had their first reading and requested not just the ordinance, but also some graphics, which I believe Ms. Genson is providing you at this point. Also, the graphics were provided to you by the errata sheet. That's another item that's in your errata sheet for today's hearing. I reviewed the affidavit of publication and it is legally sufficient.
Hi.
Good evening.
I bet you have a presentation for us, right?
We sure do.
Thank you very much.
For the record, Jacqueline Ginson. I'm actually going to switch it up on you guys. I'm going to have Jay Sweet present the ag portion, and then I'll take over for downtown. So, Jay Sweet.
Okay.
Good evening. What this is about is we have areas in the city that are zoned agricultural where the lot sizes are so small that they don't meet the non-conforming lot requirements of the zoning code, even though they are a valid non-conforming lot under the requirements of the Bonita Plan. Okay.
Get a text
Are
message?
you trying to switch pictures with your cell phone?
I feel like that.
You just called your wife, so you better have something to say. Sorry. Just trying to help. Go ahead.
What we have is that currently non-conforming lots talk about 75-foot wide lots being non-conforming in the AG districts. And so if somebody wants to come in, and we found 3 instances since 2002 where people came in and said, we want to build a single-family house on this valid non-conforming lot. They had to come and get a special exception or a variance to do so. Current regulations require a minimum width of 75 feet, minimum depth of 100, and we have a lot of lots in the city that are old lots that are 50 feet wide that are zoned ag, and so that creates the problem. And they were all done before 1962 where it's not specified.
Right.
So the Bonita Plan talks about requiring a minimum of 4,000 square feet on anything created prior to June 27, 62, or have a width of not less than 50 feet and not less than 55,000 square feet and part of a subdivision recorded official plat after 62. And then there's another date for 84, and we can go through all these, but what happens is depending upon when the non-conforming lot was created, there's a separate set of criteria. And it gets to be confusing and difficult for people of what they have. The next one. The most recent and the most complicated one is Tarpon Way, where we have AG zoning, we have medium density underlying land use, and we have mobile homes from the 60s that were sold as part of this unrecorded subdivision. And what has happened is that as these people come in, the trailers are wearing out. So beautiful waterfront property, they want to be able to stay there. They can't. It's a non-conforming use. But under the code, they can't build a single-family house either, as the regulations are currently written. And so this is an effort to bring the comp plan and the zoning regulation in compliance so that these people have the opportunity, as they want to replace those mobile homes, that they can build a conventional house on a lot accordingly. Here's a picture of it, and you can see within that picture there are some that are already vacant. One person let the fire department use some mobile homes for practice because they had gotten to be so bad they needed to be out of there. And now he has a lot that he technically can't build anything on. And so without asking for a variance or a minimum use determination, all we're doing is giving them the opportunity to be able to do that. And the setbacks that we are proposing are straight out of the code for other non-conforming lots. And that is a minimum 5-foot side or a 10% width, whichever is greatest, 25 feet on the front, and of course in the rear, 25 feet when you're on the water. There are a few instances where we have some land lots where the rear setback will be a little bit different. And here we go. There's some AG over off Carolina. Those lots vary in width from 71 to 74. Again, the code as it's written says they got to be 75. In this instance, instead of being a 5-foot setback, the 10%, we'd have a 7.1 foot or a 7.4 foot setback for the sides. It is a ratio. And then, of course, the lot is then buildable because the underlying land use allows for the density. Again, just a typical example, this is a building envelope of, where they build to place the house. That is not the size of the house. Obviously, the house is restricted by the 40% lot coverage, so the house would be smaller than the envelope. But again, the envelope shows you where they would build a house. And then we have an example on Pinecrest. We have some lots. Some people refer to them as Band-Aid lots. They're 60-foot wide, 300-foot deep. And so in this instance, they would go to the rear setback of 20, the front setback of 25, the 6 foot on the sides, a huge building envelope, but obviously they could never build that big of a building on there because of the 40%. They'd be, their maximum lot coverage would be 7,500 square feet on a lot that is, almost 19,000 square feet. So even though the envelope you see, I don't want anybody to get confused, that envelope is about 13,000 square feet. The house would be much smaller than the envelope, but that would give them the flexibility of where they could build on the lot. Questions?
Good. Council, you have any questions?
I just have one.
You think, Martha?
Yeah. Other people who have in the ag too, this goes to our agricultural overlay and what we've done around the city. I know some of our sustainability stuff talks about urban farming, but if a neighbor next door had, I don't know, some kind of, I don't remember what the uses are, that you have to have a certain distance away from the property next door in order to have a chicken or a, whatever, a cow, a goat, whatever the use is. But if they're properly using their ag and then you've just reduced the amount of distance away from that house, is that impeding the neighbor's ability to have their use, their ag use?
And I would say no, it's not, for a couple reasons. Number one, in all of these instances where we have the problem, the underlying land use isn't ag. Under the Bonita Plan, most of it is moderate density or medium density. And so it's not an ag use underneath, like in the other areas of town where we have ag.
In the comprehensive plan.
In the comprehensive plan,
Yeah,
so
the future land
underlying.
use, yeah.
Right. Where we have the ag use in the comprehensive plan is areas where we have all of the larger lots. And when you look at the regulations that, take kennels for instance. In order to have a kennel, you have to be, if it's not inside 200 feet, I think it is, from every property line. Well, obviously, that is a criteria you want to protect the residents, and at the same point in time, give them the use of the agricultural property. You wouldn't want that type of use in a more urban environment just because the property still has the ag zoning on it. So I don't think it affects any of those type uses. It's not going to affect their ability to grow things on it. The setback isn't. And I think that the regulations that are in there that address animal husbandry are there for reasons that you want them to be on acre-plus lots or 5-acre tracts, and that's the reason they're set up.
What you're talking about here is where you have an overlaying archaic zoning of agriculture, overlaying the comprehensive plan of
Yes.
That's not agriculture. So there really isn't any conflict. They really don't have an agricultural right to use in these areas. It just keeps them from doing what they want to do.
Right.
Except my neighbors on Somerset Lane who already have chickens and things prior to. So if they have a neighbor, splitting a lot or doing, because that's happened.
And I think
So-
that when we're looking at the agricultural uses, if you remember, we did the overlay district for San Carlos Estates,
I know.
Tropic Acres. Those are the areas where we're looking at more of the agricultural type uses. These lots that are in question right now, while we do have the pilot hen program, does not impede or put additional
just-
encumbrances upon any of those lots in terms of their ability to have it or not have it.
I just want us to remember there are people who have current uses now that, while we say everything's over in San Carlos Estates, there are people throughout the city who do have current uses, and I've asked our city attorney about this, that as long as the use is continued on that property, that it can continue through the next owner. Is that not correct?
Non-conforming uses do not apply to the actual ownership, but actually the use to the land.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and
Okay.
I don't see any issues with what we're doing compared to
Okay,
Good.
just as long as we're not impeding, right.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Stephen?
Just real quickly, I always have these same concerns as Councilman Simons, that we've done something to the neighbors. But I went out and looked at all those different areas, and I can tell you, I don't think there's going to be anything but improvement by allowing this to happen.
Good, good, thank you. And I agree, these lots, they're obviously good buildable lots, and we just don't want to make it a hassle for these things to be improved, because a lot of these places are sitting fallow that could have really nice homes built on them that could really bring the neighborhoods up, but they don't want to go through the hassle that you didn't cause. It's just part of the regulations. So thank you for bringing this forward. It's good that you guys brought this forward, right?
Yeah.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Okay, anything else, council?
Oh, by the way, on Somerset Lane, we were missing our non-conforming lots in there was because they were improperly platted, and we found the property down at the between two neighbors' houses. Yeah, there's like 8 feet there of no man's land. That's everybody who's coming in for variances. We found out where it went. It's nice.
Okay.
It's a little garden.
All right, council, what's your pleasure on this particular ordinance here? You want to go ahead and pass this ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, you make
Motion approved.
a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Okay, what do you got for us now?
Thank you. I have a second reading of another ordinance, and I'm going to read the title block into the record. This is amendments to Bonita Springs Land Development Code, Chapter 4 zoning, and Chapter 6 signs relating to the downtown redevelopment area, Old US 41 redevelopment area, and the Phelps Avenue subdistrict. An amendment to the Bonita Springs Land Development Code, Chapter 4 zoning, amending the Old US 41 redevelopment overlay district to incorporate additional design standards, amending sections 4-1152 through 4-1156, purpose and intent, overview of the redevelopment overlay district, standards for both within and outside the Old US 41 redevelopment urban core that comprise the Old US 41 redevelopment overlay district, amending 4-1161, the Phelps Avenue subdistrict, and an amendment to Bonita Springs Land Development Code, Chapter 6, signs, amending 6-56 sign setback options and 6-156 permanent signs in the Old US 41 redevelopment area, providing for conflicts of law, severability, codification, Scrivener's errors, inclusion in code, and an effective date. This is the second reading. City Council had their first reading at their July 17th meeting. I reviewed the affidavit of publication, and it is legally sufficient. With this being said, you do have a draft dated August 1st that's attached. The draft, if you look in the color, you'll see things either underlined or cross-hatched in the color. The color denotes that since your last time reviewing this draft ordinance, there were changes to this particular ordinance. I received an email from Ms. Genson, and she'll go over and explain this, but she's also recommending some changes that I did not receive before August 1st, that she'll be making those recommendations.
Okay, you've got, under item B, you've got three separate amendments. Do you want to do these simultaneously or one at a time, or what would you like to do?
We're doing 2.
Yeah, you just want to, it says amendment to Chapter 4, and then underneath that is amendment to,
Right, and what it is the first one is a title block to the title block. It talks about the
Right.
sections being changed. The next one is to Chapter 4, and it's all in the same document.
Okay.
Which is the zoning chapter. And then Chapter 6, the portions of the chapter of the sign code that correspond to the old 41 area.
so they can be done simultaneously.
They can all be done together.
Okay.
Okay.
Have at it.
Good evening again. For the record, Jacqueline Genson. What I'm going to do tonight is I only highlighted in the presentation the areas that you asked us to go over or areas that we changed. So if there are other topics that you want to ask us about after the presentation, by all means, I'd be happy to go over that as well. And I will have Mr. Sweet in the background. He helped me a lot with some graphics, so I'll have him on standby
Was
as
he
well.
the one that did those fancy drawings of those houses there with the ballpoint pen on the last
That
one?
was me.
That was you.
He does
Sorry.
the CAD work.
Oh,
I'm a
they were
hand-drawer.
excellent.
So I can't take the credit. Surveyor, you know?
Sorry.
Okay, so downtown.
Make a note to buy a
sign-
CAD machine for. Jackie.
Okay, just a friendly reminder that these are interim amendments. We plan to have another stab at this document again, especially because we've been working very hard on a conceptual stormwater, parking, streetscape plan. And if we get the funding to it, we envision that we will go ahead and recommend that another market study be done, which will then trigger probably another look at this plan altogether. So again, these are interim amendments. So we changed on page 2 because we had the adoption of that wonderful elevation that the architect did for the city of what we visioned downtown to be like. It was a tool, but we really didn't specify the types of architecture that we were looking for. Everyone keeps talking about old Florida vernacular, old Florida coastal. So we wanted to go ahead and just list a couple of those architectural styles that have been mentioned historically or a lot in certain presentations. So you'll see we are encouraging, we're not dictating, but we're encouraging the old Florida coastal vernacular, Bermuda Island style, Mediterranean. So that's what we're encouraging. So those are the changes. It's on page 2. That change.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
By encouraging, I just want to be sure before we get too deep into this that by encouraging, I mean, is that how we got into a problem last time, by encouraging and not requiring?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, the design guidelines themselves, the way they're written, it's a guide for us. We're not dictating design,
Okay.
but we are guiding them to the elements and the styles that we are looking for.
So some of the elements are required, but the actual style itself is encouraged.
Correct.
Okay, carry on.
If you'd like us to have more
Why don't you go ahead?
succinct language, we can go ahead and do that for sure.
Let's get back to
Sorry,
that.
sorry to interrupt. Go right ahead.
For the urban core uses, did speak or had some email correspondence with Councilwoman Simons about some of the uses that she wanted to add, and we did modify some uses for the housewares, but then there were some other uses that in the matrix would go ahead and address some of the concerns that she had about jewelry repair, watch repair, and then bakeries fall under restaurants, so certain things like that. But also what we did is we realized that we're going to need some parking downtown, and even as part of our conceptual stormwater master plan, we have some parking. So we wanted to make sure that the city could go ahead and have parking in certain areas. So we added things like that for parking structures, generic language for public buildings or uses. So again, for parking, we can go ahead and have that flexibility. We went ahead and defined more narrowly for multifamily mixed-use areas how that can be done, and that can be done in a mixed-use project, not just by itself. Because again, with mixed use, we want commercial retail on the bottom floor, office on the second, and living above. So we went ahead and clarified that. We also added a notation for urban gardens, again, because this is just interim and we haven't done it before. We're only allowing it on city property. So again, so we can kind of regulate it, have a handle on it. We also added some new notes. Note 3, again, is the urban garden as an ancillary use on city property. Note 4, we have throughout the table about public parking, who can go ahead and provide the public parking. And if a private entity wanted to provide the public parking, it would require a special exception approval. Note 5, again, for residential uses and mixed-use projects, kind of reiterates having multifamily in a mixed-use project. And then Note 6 is a new note where you could allow for in a residential apartment as an ancillary use, more like a caretaker's residence in our commercial 3A area. Religious assembly, I know there were some electronic correspondence that was going back and forth. In some of the districts, we do allow religious assembly. In one of the districts, we did not. And the reason why we did is because those areas were the Wonder Gardens or Imperial River Landing, and those were our downtown mixed-use, core, high-intensity uses. And we really wanted to look at uses that were going to have more activity, more than just a use that was just going to be there a couple of days a week and not really activating that space. So that is why staff did not recommend having that use in that area. If you would like to go ahead and look at that, allowing it by special exception, we can go ahead and do that. But I know that was one thing that did come up. So we can go ahead and address that at comment time.
Thank you.
And again, to reiterate that we do have general language in there that if a use isn't specifically listed on this table, there is criteria if you want to go ahead and ask to have that use be permitted. So there is a process for that.
Mayor, will we ask at the end of have questions at the end of her
Yeah,
presentation?
if you would hold your questions,
Thank
and we'll
you.
ask towards the end there, yeah. be sure and write everything down. Yep, go ahead.
The next item is building height, which starts on page 14, and then it carries on to page 15. Originally, during the first reading, we did agree to maintain the 15-foot height, but in your current draft, it's still reflected as being strucken out. So I just wanted to make sure that that was still council's will for retaining the 15 feet height. Again, a lot of retail spaces like the 15-foot height up to the ceiling because it allows you to have a certain height of retail space when you walk through the door, but also concealing some of your mechanical AC ductwork and whatnot for the first floors. And this is just a general rendering by Mr. Sweet, because it's in CAD, and shows you what that 15-foot could look like when you have the doors, the storefront windows, the awnings, the sign bands, and a parapet. So it's a single-story example. The next example is on page 15, building placement for third stories. We went ahead and changed that a little bit to go ahead and define it better. We were working on this and thought that the language was a little vague. The existing language right now allows 52 feet in height. That is not a staff proposed change. That is existing today. Also, the Imperial River Landing PD that was approved in 2009 has a 55-foot height requirement, 3 stories over parking. So again, those height is not something that we're changing, but we wanted to go ahead because we were asked to prepare a graphic of what that could look like under the current regulations. And the way it's written, this is how it could look like, with a minor setback in the front and the second story cantilevering over to the right-of-way line with no balconies. And then we have another example where, again, you're building to the property line. You can have an awning that encroaches out into the property line, and then you have balconies that cantilever over the first few decks. Page 17, architectural standards. This was the additional row of features band. So if we get these buildings, and most of this is going to occur on your single-story buildings where they're going to have like a mission-style roof or just a parapet to hide the AC mechanical equipment. That's really where you're going to probably have a building that goes above the required 15-foot first-story requirement, so you can conceal mechanical equipment. So this goes ahead and shows you how we can break up that facade with architectural elements. This is at a 0-foot elevation with the sidewalk. You got 8-foot windows and doors. You have a 2-foot sign band, which is also in the code right now. And these could be some architectural elements that help break up that facade if it was a single-story building with a parapet-type roof or mission style. This is another type of an example. Again, just having some type of architectural feature, break that up. Having the addition of an awning, it adds to massing, it breaks up that spacing. This is another style where you could have some cornice type at the top of the parapet. Again, with your sign band, that's code required, awnings, and your storefront glass and glazing. What we also changed was 2 definitions in the guidelines and definitions section. Again, just to make it read a little bit better. So we changed the expression line definition and the transition line definition. Those are the 2 changes that we made since the first reading. For uses outside the core, that is mostly your residential uses, so your single family and your multifamily and townhouse products. And what we did is we recognized that not everyone's going to want to build and consolidate their lots to put multifamily and townhouse products. So if they want to build a single-family house, they should be able to do so. But in order to maintain the character of creating a downtown townhouse multifamily environment, you want to make sure that those homes, if we allow them, are built to the same character and are creating that same street feel that the multifamily uses were. So we went ahead and put in the note at note 2, and I can read it for you guys if you'd like. So single-family dwelling units in sub-areas 4 and 5, which is your townhouse and multifamily district, are subject to the same standards for which they are located in. So that's for your street setbacks, because we want to maintain that same character. And this is to encourage infill, because if people don't go ahead and put the properties together, nothing's going to be built. So this is to encourage infill. One of the changes that I was telling Ms. Vance about that she referenced is recognizing that, and also that there are existing single-family homes and they might want to put additions on. The current code says you can have a 0-foot setback but 10 feet between structures. And staff realized, well, we probably don't want to do that. So we want to go ahead and maintain a 5-foot side setback for those situations. And that's the same side setback that we give in the sub-area 2A and 2B section. So that's one of the other changes that staff was recommending that's not in this packet tonight. It's Chapter 6 sign regulations. Do you want to go on to this now, or do you want to?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So with the sign regulations, again, interim amendments, and this was moving the sign section that was in 4 into 6 to make it more user-friendly for developers and for sign contractors. Some of the areas that we went ahead and enhanced was we wanted to go ahead and define more and talk about the illumination of signs. So we went ahead and defined what you could internally illuminate, what you could externally illuminated that supported the graphics that we showed last week. So there's some greater specificity for that in terms of, we're trying to get away from the plexiglass look. I know not everyone's going to be happy with us for that, but in order to create that downtown charm and feel, you're going to have either what they call them halo light letters, but they're like channel lit letters behind the letters, and that creates a nice halo light glow. It's very soft, inviting. Or you have the exterior lighting of gooseneck lighting, which shines at the sign. So we won't have a dark skies issue.
Think Riverview Center at night, very nicely backlit.
Exactly. Then we went ahead and amended some of the existing language in there. We went ahead and amended directory signs for greater specificity again, and to reduce the impact of these directory signs that you would have on buildings or in front of buildings. We went ahead and removed wall and identification signs. And the reason why we did that is the wall signs are really addressed in the sign band area that we were talking about. That's that 2-foot strip right above where the awning line is. So that's where your wall sign goes. So that's already addressed in the code, so it seemed redundant to have it listed there twice. Because a lot of the sign contractors, when we were dealing with Family Dollar, got confused because it was two sets of regulations and they didn't match. For the identification signs, we took those down, or we removed those because those are your ground signs and monument signs. So why have that in there if we're not going to allow them? We went ahead and added perpendicular signs and portable valet parking signs. Again, because these are the cute little downtown signs that we're looking for. I don't know if that's a planning term, cute, but and then your portable parking.
Could you just describe the identification sign a little bit further, what that might be? Give me an example.
Well, in our Chapter 6 code now, identification signs could be your pole sign, your pylon sign, or your ground sign under the current Chapter 6 definition. That's what an identification sign is. So it didn't seem appropriate to keep that in there.
Okay.
And this is just reiterating what our next steps are. This is interim amendments, and we're hoping to get another crack at this once we go ahead and look at the plan again.
All right, to start us off, I'm going to ask one question when it comes to signs. You said before that in a lot of these things, that if there is a methodology and there's a way for people, if they have a hardship, if for some reason their building's in a position where it can't be seen, the building's not made to accommodate a wall sign, you will work with them, and there is a method that they can get some kind of exception to where they could put in a monument sign or a pole. You will work with them in that case, right?
Yes, the variance process is the same. It would be the same variance process that Chapter 4 allows us to do, where they would have to demonstrate the hardship criteria.
And it's not overly burdensome or anything like that?
No, we'll try to make it as painless as possible.
Okay, because, I mean, that'd be the one fear. I mean, we know that this is what we're looking for, but there are some cases that the property owner or the property shouldn't be punished for that, because some of those off-street places, they need to have a sign that can actually be seen from the road, which is until we get it to where everybody's driving around the streets.
Correct, or walking.
So that'd be great. All right.
Fidelity
All right, Council, do you have any questions you ready for questions?
I'm ready.
All right, ready for questions? Any questions about what you've seen here? And these, keeping in mind that these are interim and these are, you get these into place, get these approved, this is something you want to look at closer and closer and closer, including the architectural standards, including all of it, right?
That's correct.
Thank you very much. Okay, questions? Martha?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess start at the beginning, urban garden ancillary use. So, my thought about that was not only that some business, like the Garden Corner, would have a garden, butterfly garden that they have, beautiful, put all this great stuff in there for his business. But also that if a restaurant were growing, let's say, basil and jalapenos or something like that, that they could have a little ancillary use to their business. A lot of people like that, and a lot of chefs like that. And I think that's kind of a neat, new kind of thing about urban gardening that people are doing. So, of course, code enforcement could get all over them if it looked like a wreck, and, I'm sure they would. So that's why I wanted to bring that forward and see maybe council thought that was something that, instead of just having on public property, because, some of our gardens don't always look so good at times, not like we're keeping up with it. So we try. But I'd like to see that possibly for restaurant locations as an addition. Also think of your florist. I mean, that's very inviting if your florist has a beautiful garden out front, saying, come on in, we have great flowers here.
Well, let's talk about the definition.
Yes.
I mean, what's the difference between an urban garden and landscaping?
Yeah, good point.
Well, urban garden
Think
is
about
an urbanized area where you're growing some type of, I would say produce, but you're growing your herbs. It's kind of like our community garden ordinance, but it's an urbanized plot of land where you're growing fruits, vegetables.
Right, but having a piece of property specifically and just for the main use to be an urban garden, that's what you're not trying to have, right?
Correct.
Right.
So having it as an ancillary use, is there a way that you can define that sufficiently to where you could have that allowed? Because it'd be kind of hard to argue that
Yeah.
somebody with an herb garden that big around has got an urban garden.
Yeah, we're actually, ancillary uses in general, we're having Ms. Crespo look at Chapter 4 as a whole, because the ancillary uses is coming up a lot right now. But, we can notate that. We can add that note in the restaurant use if that's
Right.
council's direction.
That's what I was just going to say, that there is a
fine.
huge trend on now that chefs grow their own,
Mhm.
herbs right there on property, on site to add, to what they're presenting daily. So
Yeah, and
It's a cool thing.
I would go a little bit, I would agree to include that in that restaurant use.
Sure.
But I would also, one of the first things you need to work on is to go ahead and allow that to be some type of approved use with some kind of parameters, so if somebody doesn't, go completely crazy with it, but
We could do it
Yes.
through
Where it can
administrative
happen.
approval. Our intent was trying to make this as easy for businesses to come in and cut down on the red tape. But we could do it by administrative approval if you want staff to have a little more control on what's coming through.
yes.
And looking at the note on page 12, it's only applicable to public and recreational uses, sub-areas 7 and 9. So it does not apply to the urban village right now, the way as
The
proposed.
urban
That's
core?
the point we wanted
So
to.
you
yeah.
might want to have it in the urban village, urban core area, hospitality area, commercial area, but have it as a AA, administrative approval, so that we could look at a layout of the garden and have an idea what people are proposing.
Okay, council, would you be okay with that, except for the exception that it would be allowed in a restaurant area?
By administrative approval?
I think it should just be allowed. Do you feel the necessity that
No,
to have an administrative approval for?
I do not. I just thought that you guys wanted some more control over it, so we knew exactly what we were
Yeah,
getting.
we're not into that
Okay.
control
No,
stuff.
we
that
want a
much.
charming downtown.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You got
That's
it.
a rumor. That's a rumor.
Carl wants more control, we don't.
Now, Audrey, can we do this on the confines of this without having to re-advertise? This isn't a substantive
Absolutely,
change.
but what I
Okay.
need to do is make sure I know which sub-areas it's going to be permitted as ancillary to public use and restaurants.
Okay, we'll let you work on that as we start to keep
Mayor?
talking along here.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to see it only at restaurants. I mean, yes, allow it at restaurants, but for instance, Shangri-La. You know, they had great gardens at one time. That was part of their hotel business. The Wonder Gardens, the garden store. So I don't figure it out and come on back.
Well, let's if we could go ahead and include it in restaurants in the urban core on this one, and also include an administrative appeal process to where people could apply for that for now. And then we can go ahead and look at this again, so we don't have to spend a lot of time.
True.
And decide whether bring us back a template that shows how it can be done in other places.
And the general
Let me
language,
ask you, ma'am.
the general language in the table too probably allows property owners that flexibility to ask staff, "Hey, staff, can I have this urban garden as an ancillary use to my business?" And they can formally ask staff. So there is that general language in there too.
Okay, well, good.
So,
Mayor?
Good, there needs to be. Yeah.
If the garden corner sells, will that mean that they can't use their garden?
Well, Jay and I talked about this. The garden center, we looked at them more as, because their primary use was, they have a lot of pots and pottery. So we looked at them as more of like a housewares use, even though most of their stuff was outdoor display. But the pottery is art. I mean, they're primarily
Not pottery is art. The garden corner, they sell
a nursery.
trees. Yeah.
I mean, if council feels that's an appropriate use downtown, that's.
I do.
Yeah.
It's lovely to buy
So
garden
as it
supplies.
stands now, another nursery makes application to have a nursery in the downtown area. It's not prohibited, or is prohibited.
They can always ask, and if we
They
feel
can
it's
always ask.
appropriate.
I think, council, I think it would be best to do that, because what you don't want to do is have an overutilization of any one of these one uses to go
Yes.
down there. If everybody decides, well, this is a great place and an
Mm-hmm.
inexpensive place to have nurseries, that's all you'll have. So by special exception or whatever it is, I think it would be great. Okay, any other questions?
Well, okay, on the design elements, you're requiring design element, the 10 to 15 foot height, 15 foot height of parapet, right? You're having design element, is that required at 10 feet?
The design, the intent, or the new language that we added was if we had a situation where there was a building that was higher than 16 feet, they had to provide an additional tier of, an additional tier of some type of architectural features to break up this massing.
Okay, that's a very good picture of what I wouldn't want to see. I'll tell you why. Because if you're trying to bring the building to the street and having a walkable community, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's coming down buckets of, rain, right? You have that.
You want an awning.
I like the awnings. Now, how come we
Square
can't
awnings.
say a portico or an awning, something to bring that feel that the pedestrians, like, I'm not going to get caught in the rain or the sun out here, which most downtown areas, if you look around the country, have that requirement.
Yeah, Jay and I were
And
talking
it's-
about that today, and
Yeah,
he wanted to require awnings, and that definitely would be a great.
I think we should require awnings. And that also says to you, because when that building went up, the other thing is, yes, we have non-conforming lots and there's strange, configurations, but one of the, let me ask you how you're figuring this one out, because when the dollar store, and I hate to use an example, but it's our current one, they basically built the side of the store fronting the street, and that's what we don't want, right?
In a perfect world, if we had lot assemblage and eventually that will become a street wall, you won't even see the side of that building. Because of the existing development that's around it, you're going to see that east and west, the north and south elevation.
Okay, well, but I think the purpose is that for a pedestrian feel to a downtown is you want to have frontage on the street. So you have window shopping and little gardens in front of people, or not urban gardens, little landscaping in front of their properties so that you have that feel of connecting with the commercial building. And I'm not seeing that happen. I mean, that was something I think when you see the pretty pictures, we've had described to us, and people walking down the street, they're looking in windows. It's usually under a portico or an awning or something like that.
Well, it's probably, and I have no problem with us adding something at this point in time requiring awning. I think that's a reasonable request. But I'd like to point out, and I think nobody would argue with me, that none of us are architects up here, right? Just checking. Just wait. Just wait. And so what I would think is that because these are interim things, I don't want us to sit here all night and try to change this to fit our own particular process of what's going on. Mainly because there are a lot of things on here from a blank picture with no color and no style that I can't tell what that looks like. I know what I want to see in that type of thing, and I think we need to take another stab at this. But this is just fixing these interim things that proved to be a problem last time around.
Sure.
And so in abundance of caution, let's not overcomplicate it. That's what I'm asking you, sir.
Ma'am?
Not asking you to do that, okay?
I understand that.
Council, do you mind adding the awning part of that? No. That's fine. Good. Okay.
Sweet.
Martha, anything else before we go
Two
to another
more,
council person?
and I'm out of your hair.
All right.
Or whatever you have left.
Hey, don't worry about that. That ship has sailed.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you trying to say?
I don't know. Okay. Okay. Now the setback I don't know why somebody would be building a house on Old 41, but God bless them if they do. Like, let's hope it's like a gorgeous thing. But the setbacks at 5 feet, I understand why you want to do that. However, where are you going to put the garage? I don't want to get complicated, but when you come back, we have alleyways that haven't been vacated downtown. And I know that, I don't know if we can somehow utilize those for back door parking instead of front door. Think about that. The last thing, wall signs. I think you addressed that, about the mayor addressed that, and I want to thank him because there are signs downtown that are on the wall that I don't know how else that person's going to get advertised. Thank you very much, Mayor. I appreciate
my pleasure.
Giving me the time.
Anyone else have any questions before we move this along? Staff, anything? Yes.
I do, and that's on page 12. I was going to make a suggestion of a change in the hospitality sub-areas in the commercial industrial, so that's the Shangri-La Hotel area, adding as permitted botanical gardens and adding a new note saying botanical gardens only, because obviously you do not want a zoo on those parcels or that area, but you want zoo in other areas for the Wonder Gardens, but you do want botanical gardens at the Shangri-La, correct?
But they grew their own food.
Right.
Their own hydroponic gardens.
They have urban gardens will now be permitted, and I'm making that change, but they also have botanical gardens.
Sure, great.
So
Okay.
I would tend to think botanical gardens only, not a zoo at those locations.
But the main thing to do is to maintain flexibility in case somebody comes along with something special. It's just not an outright prohibition.
Absolutely.
Okay?
We have that in there.
Okay. Anything else?
Mayor.
We're going to go, yes.
Please, I beg your pardon.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Something that was mentioned during public comment by Charlie Strader, who I think has left, was the density and the height. And I don't know what we can do about that. 70 feet seems awfully high. But on just currently, we have a density bonus. That density bonus is given for affordable housing, is that correct?
There is in the comprehensive plan, along with other provisions of the.
And I want to caution everybody here, we're getting way outside
Right, that's
of what
outside the
we've
amendments we're doing
we've
today.
delved into. that's talking comprehensive plan issues and everything
I
else.
understand. It's something that
And
the
that's
public brought up,
already
and I just
existing.
want to answer his question if we could.
Yes.
Okay. So with the density bonus, we don't have a program for density bonus anymore for affordable housing, do we?
Yes, we do.
We do?
Yes, I mean, nobody's applying for it, but we have a program.
Has anybody ever applied for it?
Yes, you have the area at, on Old 41.
Well, yes,
I forgot the
yes,
name of the
but
place, right next
Okay,
to
well,
yes,
one
but they've never
person,
received
okay.
it as a vesting.
Okay.
Okay.
So we might consider removing that at some point.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to public comment at this time. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter, please go. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's let the young lady get out of the way first.
She might have a
Easy
public
does it.
comment
Easy does it
first.
there.
Oh, no.
Picture with the 5-story with the roof up there.
Cool, we got all this.
All right. Anyone wishing to speak at this time, please come forward.
Okay. As you all remember down at Hickory Boulevard,
I'm sorry, sir. Your name for the
Rick
record.
Steinmeier again.
All right.
All right, I'm sorry about that.
It's all right.
Down at Hickory Boulevard, we had a place where it was 35 foot to the eave. And he went over that, so he put the roof line on down 8 feet, and that made it legal, so they look like a barn. Are we putting ourselves, how high can that roof be? And what they solved it down on the boulevard was 40-foot maximum instead of 35 feet to the eave. I think we're opening ourselves up here if we don't define where the eave is. If you find a book that tells me where the eave is, it's the last shingle on the roof maybe, is that, or the drip edge? Where exactly is the eave? The fascia?
Okay.
The soffit?
Thank you, Rick.
We needed to define that.
Thank you, Rick.
Evening, Rex Sims. I'm a businessman in Old 41.
You certainly are.
Where these rules affect me. Two quick things. One of them is when we moved the sign ordinance over into the overlay district, it was verbatim, except there was one little thing got added in that there's been no mention of this evening, and that is a color ordinance for signs. And that color ordinance is very restrictive and is not business friendly. And the interesting part of it is, as I interpret the color requirements for signs that has been added in here, Hertz could not have their trademarked sign above a store and be in this, meet the requirements here. This is something, signs are the lifeblood of a business, and we need to make sure that we're not doing anything too restrictive here. That's the first thing. The second thing is this. The city has a nice new sign up in front of the banyan tree at the community center. And it's a nice monument sign, and I'm quite sure it meets all the new requirements, has a changeable face, and all of the events that are going on over in the park are advertised there. And it's a nice looking sign. As you walk along the sidewalk, you can read everything on that sign. It's about 4 or 5 rows there. The problem is there's 2 pedestrian crossings and there's a bus stop there and there's a lot of traffic. So if you're driving down there, you can drive right by the darn thing and only read the July 4th there's going to be something. It doesn't work. And so everybody that has an event in our beautiful park, they have an answer for that. They have a 12-foot long banner with letters 3 feet high that they hang across the street on the west side at that shelter building there. And so the Taste of Bonita, the tree growers, I don't know, everybody that has an event, the Bonita Blues program, everybody that has an event has this banner that they hang over there about a week or so before the event so that everybody knows the darn thing's going to be there. Because if you only advertise it on that little monument sign you got out there, it wouldn't make anybody know about it. So the thing I want you to think about is this monument sign and the design that are asking for here, or that's in this ordinance, works real well in a walking community. And one of these days we're going to have that. But we're a long ways away from there. I've been there 25 years and I've seen all these things come and go and come and go and come and go, and we haven't quite arrived there yet. It works real fine up in Coconut Mall, and it works real fine down in Naples on 5th Avenue. It doesn't work real fine on Old 41. Please consider that. Thank you.
Rex, thank you very much, sir. Anyone else this time? Please come forward. Bless you. Bless you again.
Mayor Nelson, City Council members, my name is Chris Thompson, and I'm the lead pastor at Table of Grace Church. We at Table of Grace have just signed a contract to purchase the Maria's building, where the restaurant is, 27080 Old 41 Road, which under the proposed changes to Chapter 4 will fall in the Urban Village Overlay District. According to the permitted use chart, religious assembly will not be permitted at that site. We respectfully request that the permitted uses be amended to allow religious assembly within the Urban Village District, either as a matter of right or as a special exemption. Table of Grace has plans to improve the property, including adding landscape, updating the building facade, and renovating the building to provide for a worship and gathering space. The church has plans for this space to be a center of activity at a time when many other businesses have their doors closed, Sunday morning. We also believe that a centrally located church that is active and engaged in the community can provide a significantly positive impact on the downtown redevelopment. Since our formation in September 2011, Table of Grace Church has been serving meals with Cafe of Life, collecting items for the Bonita Springs Assistance Office, participated in the chili cook-off at Celebrate Bonita, and trying to help make repairs to homes through the Basics organization. In addition to sharing the building with Maria's, that will remain a tenant with us, Table of Grace has a vision to make this space a working cafe restaurant, providing an opportunity for people who have lost jobs to learn valuable skills in the service industries as cooks, servers, even managers. The existing kitchen facilities at Maria's is one of the main reasons that the church is interested in purchasing this site. We hope that one day the TOGC Cafe is a draw to downtown Bonita, and known not only for its fantastic cuisine at a reasonable price, it will definitely not be a soup kitchen, but also for the opportunities and job skills it provides to our neighbors that are faced with life's challenges. I want to commend all of you for your vision and the efforts made in relation to making historic downtown Bonita Springs a destination. However, I urge you to consider amending the permitted uses in the Urban Village Overlay, District Subarea 1 and 6B, to allow religious assembly as a matter of right, or alternatively, as a special exemption. Thank you for your time. May God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time, please come forward.
Does it go up high enough?
Can you get a microphone extension from the back?
How tall are you, bud?
6'10".
6'10".
And I think the maximum hood requirement's 6'9", so I still get headaches. Good evening, Mayor Nelson and City Council. My name is Don Splain. I'm an elder at Table of Grace Church. One of my main focuses is outreach in the community. I must say that over the past 2 years, we've managed to glean about 11,000 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables to give to area outreach, the Bonita Springs Assistance Office and offices of the like. My background is graduated of the Culinary Institute of America, member of Chefs Collaborative, Vermont Farm Fresh, New York Organic Farmers Association, as well as Florida Organic Growers. I was involved with the Chez Panisse Foundation and their input into gardens and education amongst the people of the area, especially with children. I've cooked for heads of state. I've cooked for A-list movie stars, and I've also worked in 3-star Michelin restaurants. The goal for us taking over Maria's is working with them now as they still have 2 years left on their lease, is to improve it, but also to make it what I would like to see, a Mecca. Sorry to use Mecca as a church, but
it's okay.
in Bonita, and to use my culinary expertise to really elevate and create a gem to draw people to Bonita. That being said, to echo Pastor Chris's statements, we ask that a special amendment be made in Chapter 4 to allow us to gather on Sunday mornings. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else this time? Please come forward. I'm not going to comment on the height difference here. Of course, I just did, right?
Thanks. Hi, Diana Durante of Bonita Springs, Cedar Creek.
Hello.
And once again, I've been asked to speak for many Bonita Spring residents, as I did last year, who for various reasons could not be here today, and also members of Be Safe Bonita. I'd like to encourage the council to not amend permitted use for religious assembly and not to allow a special exemption. The fact that they want to organize a cafe to use for job training is essentially what had been proposed last year by another group. The recently created and adopted ordinances should not be sidestepped. As the old saying goes, give them an inch and they'll take a yard. If a special exemption is granted, rumor has it that the Living Waters Church will then want to do the same. A precedent will have been set. I'd also like to question At that location, adequate parking for church services and activities. Do these projected plans really fit in with redevelopment of Old 41? It's also interesting that these issues are brought to the council during August when many full-time residents are visiting family elsewhere, and of course part-time people are not here. If these exemptions are granted, especially in the Target shopping center, myself and many, many others will stop patronizing the stores and banks that are located there. Let's think ahead. As was stated many times last year, there is not a need in Bonita Springs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time, please come forward. One at a time.
Hi, I'm Deb McLean, the publisher of the Banana Peel, and I have almost single-handedly started a fight against welfare and social hubs in a small community such as our size. We are the first community in Florida to initiate the concept as need, as in a hospital has to have a number of beds, but they have to prove the population of need. And we have proven that we don't have a need for these type of services in Bonita. And if you build it, they will come. And I understand that these people have very warm and giving hearts, but this is a republic. The country is a republic, and we're run as a democracy, and the people of Bonita Springs are loud and clear on this issue. Also know that if you grant a church or any building that a church has, they are protected by federal law, and they can do whatever the hell they please. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Had I gone before her, I would have said I was in between the short and the tall. Mayor Nelson and
that joke's already
and City Council. One thing that the mayor mentioned, and I just wanted to kind of emphasize it, I would like to see the council challenge staff to come up with something a little better than encourage, because if that's what it is, you won't get it. So, and you got time between now and the next final reading. That's all, real short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else at this time? Please come forward.
Yes, Alex Grant, former city councilman. I happen to be a member on the Historical Preservation Board. But, you know, we have a lot of historic buildings or old buildings in town, and I'd like you to think about what was done in Pinellas County with some older buildings in town that could have been demolished or something of that nature. And in order to protect these older buildings, if we can use maybe some city properties in the old redevelopment area for these preservation sites, and use them maybe for rental office space or something like that. But in order, it basically is to preserve these older structures that, and I'm talking about pre-World War II structures. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time? Please come forward. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Sarah Splain. I'm one of the deacons at Table of Grace Church, and I just wanted to clarify a little bit what the vision is for Table of Grace Church with the Maria's property. We do not want to have, you know, a church in the center of town with a steeple kind of situation. We also don't want it to be a community center, a social services outreach, or anything like that. Think more along the lines of a master chef going into a crippled restaurant and transforming it. Think along the lines of Maria's truly is the heart of Bonita. It's this incredible location. And we want to let it flower. We want it to become a place where heads of states, kings, I mean, he's not kidding, he's cooked for, name it, would come, but you can also sit and have a snack with your kids. When you think about training, job training type situations, in nearly all kitchens, you have people coming through who are in need of training. It's just part of the restaurant industry. The difference that we would hope to have with Maria's is when people are coming through for that kind of training, we're not doing it just to spit out, you know, somebody new into the marketplace. We're doing it with the effort to build a contributing member in this community who's going to keep their resources, keep their talents, and keep their money feeding back into Bonita. When dollars that are spent in Bonita stay in Bonita, when training that is provided in Bonita stays in Bonita, it serves Bonita. And we as a church, but also as a business, are seeking to really encourage that. We're looking to serve Bonita in your vision for the future as a beautiful, I mean, Bonita is like right on the cusp of just flowering into this beautiful downtown place. We don't want to impede that in any way. We want to encourage that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else at this time, please come forward.
Good evening. For the record, Kathy McGrath, and I'm urging all of you I really hesitate to say anything against these wonderful people because I know they're caring. But please be very, very careful, I urge you, before changing anything, because they seem to be saying about this restaurant aspect, but it's still a church. And I'm very sorry, but my envision of revitalizing downtown Bonita Springs, I don't believe we need another church there. So please be very, very careful before you make this decision. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time, please come forward.
Carolyn Gallagher, Bonita Springs. I would just...
Member of the LPA, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. New member, just learning the ropes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just would like to ask, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, the Table of Grace, how they plan to mesh the idea of religious assembly, which to me is people in cars and so on, with restaurant training. So again, and to you, I'd like to reiterate what she just said about being careful and getting all the details about how this is going to evolve before you make a decision on whether you're going to allow it or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else at this time? Please come forward.
Good afternoon or good evening. John Spear for the record, Bonita Springs resident for 30 years. I hadn't really necessarily planned on talking tonight, although sometimes I just can't help myself.
You look familiar.
Yeah. So
That's what it is. You missed
What is
it.
let me suggest a couple points here. And this situation with the Table of Grace is something I have really not much knowledge about, but you all have been through this subject matter very generally within the last year or so, and I know how painful it was. I came and participated a couple times. I would just suggest, if I were sitting up there, I'd be suggesting it from up there, that you just take this subject and put it aside and don't lose your focus on what you're trying to accomplish. I was as horrified as I think all of you were when I saw the dollar store come up and found out that that the original plans that were approved by our staff, by your staff, really allowed something that I thought that we had dealt with 4 or 5 years ago. And I think all of you were stunned that because we had been assured by a prior staff that that had all been handled and stuff like that wasn't going to happen. And I applaud you for doing what you did, but I would encourage you to really not lose the focus, and these are still interim regulations, and that frightens me a little bit. I would encourage you also to look at these regulations, and I think Ben sort of alluded to this a little bit by there's a real sweet spot, and it's a real narrow sweet spot between what's required, what's prohibited, and what's allowed or encouraged by either amendment or special exception or those sort of things. You make it too loose, and you're going to see what we were horrified with 6 months ago. You make it too tight, you regulate everything to death, nobody's going to bother. And we're going to have exactly what we've had for the 31 years I've lived in this community, which is virtually nothing happened down there in terms of redevelopment. We've talked and talked and talked, and still to this day nothing's happened. So I would encourage you to really focus on that and make sure we get it right this time. I thought we had it right 5 years ago, and probably the most frustrating thing since I left office was seeing that happen, and some relief that I wasn't going to have to go deal with it a second time. So thank you all very much. What you're doing is important. Focus on that infrastructure. Focus on getting it right. And with all due respect to some of you up there, don't worry about the name. That's not that important. It's the infrastructure and what you're talking about today, which is really the important thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Well done. Anyone else this time? Seeing none. All right, Council, it sounds like we have two issues here that we may want to discuss. You may want to, or you may want to tell me to shut up. Let's see. So far as religious facilities, it's been suggested by some that we right in there now, Audrey, as it explained now, religious assemblies or religious facilities aren't allowed.
That's correct.
That's
They're
correct?
not permitted. But I want to point out that restaurants are permitted, and I'm hearing two things from the people.
Exactly.
And that's what's kind of confusing me, and I think the term I would use is we have to see what all the facts are before having a narrow mind or an open mind, or however it's going to result. What I'm hearing from the splainers, along with Mr. Reverend Thompson, or not sure Reverend, or is that it's going to still be operationally a restaurant. There may be some training, but that's no different than going to Burger King or McDonald's, who advertise that their first job is training, although we don't allow drive-throughs, you know.
Easy.
You know, each church has a different attitude, Mr. Steinmeier, as to liquor. I would suggest keeping as is, because restaurants are permitted by right, and what they're talking about is a restaurant. We may not all agree, but it's no different than saying we had an invocation here today, and that therefore this became a religious assembly, which it did not. You know, we had an invocation.
And we're hoping that subject never comes up. But go ahead.
It's getting better with the U.S. Supreme Court.
Because then we are all in trouble.
Sorry.
That's okay.
But, and no, we're not. We're doing it correctly.
Thank you very much.
But, so I don't think that there needs to be a change. Again, that's how they package the facts. No different than a restaurant may have a group participating, such as Rotary or Kiwanis or whatever group.
They may come in once a week and have their Rotary Club meeting. There may be a church that meets in a restaurant once a week because they have another space to do.
Right.
But what you're saying is, if someone comes in and says, we're the so-and-so organization and we're opening a restaurant, retail restaurant, it's a restaurant.
And counsel, I've talked to you before about the Religious and Land Use Institutionalized Persons Act. I mean, I can go through it again if you want.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Then apparently
So, counsel, your suggestion is to leave it as it is.
Right.
And at least for now, until proven otherwise, we feel as though that's fine. Counsel, are you okay with that, leaving it as it
Absolutely.
is?
Yes.
Okay? All right. It does not preclude a restaurant use or who owns it. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes?
May I ask, and I that's a perfect statement, and I think you guys probably feel comfortable, but talk to them, to our community development. But, you know, you think down in Naples, there's some guru lady who's got a vegetarian restaurant, the Love Hut, you know? They're a religious organization. They run a restaurant. The Hare Krishnas ran restaurants. So no reason why you can't run a restaurant.
Okay, here we go. The next subject matter is the signs. I understand where Rex is coming from. I understand that as well because I own a business down there too. Signs are the lifeblood of a business, and as the area changes, there's going to be some gnashing of teeth and whatever. I feel confident, however, though, that if we don't start requiring the signs to be toned down sufficiently with the new stores coming in, that we're never going to get there. I do feel as though if the staff, which Jackie's assured me, if the staff is able to give some relief when somebody can't see the sign, and you do allow a color in one of the signs, right?
On page
Arlene?
50.
So a color, you could use a color to identify in your logo or your sign. That would be allowed. So I think that's sufficient. I've talked with Arlene about there in any of these development areas. And I think that this is what we need to do. If we don't, we're going to have everyone's going to try to outlight, outcolor, sign the next person. That's just the nature of us as human beings and business people. So anyway, Council, are you satisfied with the sign ordinance the way it is, and with the ability to give some relief if requested?
Yes.
I absolutely agree with that. There needs to be an open mind because some of this, the one size fits all, doesn't work. But I understand we need to have guidelines to work from. So I'm okay with that, but knowing that staff needs to be open-minded about helping out some of those who have been in business for a long time and built their businesses based on what the rules and regulations were back then. And as we build up around them, their signs are being hidden or obstructed, and we need to work with them.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's a good point.
I totally disagree. You squash, I know we want to be.
You don't think we should work with the people?
I think we should work with people. I think it's a great idea, Mayor. But I don't, you squash creativity, and I know there's some creativity that we don't want, but there has to be a way that you can allow more than one color. Some people's branding, for instance, Mr. Rex Sims, he's got a very good looking sign. It's got a little red, it's got a little blue, and his color palette at its building is all wrong, but the building is all right. He's got all the design elements that you want to have a friendly downtown business. And we're trying to say this color palette, now none of those sign colors, but he seemed to put it together with yellow and red and blue and those things that we're saying we don't want to have on a sign, 3 of them on one sign. So I'm concerned that we're going to squash that initiative that business owners have to create their logos, to bring those kind of innovative businesses we want to have downtown. And just by having one color on a logo, hey, that's boring. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm sure there is one.
Actually, that is the answer. If you look on page 50.
Thank you.
On page 50, it does talk about what colors are allowed, and one additional color may be permitted in addition to the colors that are permitted in the sign colors, and plus black, white, bronze, with bronze being preferred, but black's allowed. So the Hertz sign, which is yellow and black, and it's probably best way,
Yellow, black, and white.
I don't know if there's white in it.
Okay,
Whatever.
Anyway, let's go ahead.
Would be permissible, except for primary colors are red, blue, green, red.
Okay.
Yellow.
Anyway, so council, let's just get the temperature of council. We understand your
Thank
position, Martha. Council, is this sign ordinance the way it is, which is fairly restrictive at this point in time? I don't think there are 50 people waiting to build signs right now. No, 50, 60? No, none. Right? Okay. For right now, are you okay with this to go ahead and send a signal out there that we're looking for quality out there, but we're willing to do a little, if somebody has a hardship where they're like, nobody's going to recognize this sign with 2 colors, you're able to suggest that they're able to use 3 colors or whatever. Council, are you okay with the way this is?
Mm-hmm.
So I got 1, 2, 3, is this, okay?
What color is it going to use other than primary colors? Because all colors are a mixture of primary colors. What are you going to use?
I think pure primary colors, but it does say on page 51, the last sentence of the ordinance, any other change in signage, which would be colors, it would be anything on signage, may be approved by city council on a case-by-case basis.
Okay,
I think that's better.
all right?
It's in there.
It says that. Okay, so we're okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, are there any other issues, council, that you want to bring up? I think we've covered everything, right? Do you have anything, Audrey? that
I just
needs-
want to, before adopting the ordinance, make sure we go over the ones that city council knows I'll be changing from the draft.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you ready?
Shoot.
Okay, the first change will
So
be.
to speak.
I have to go to my pages. The first change I have that was given to me by Ms. Genson on page 12, I will be adding in urban gardens per city council permitted in all districts. Still subject to note 3, ancillary to public, restaurants and public use. I'm also adding a modification, adding botanical gardens in sub-areas 8A, or just area 8 will be easier to say, and area 11th, and that's Shangri-La, most of the Shangri-La Resort botanical gardens only. We don't want them to have a zoo, but we do want to make sure that I know that they have they have gardens for their restaurant, but they may have some other botanical garden uses. I know that for a fact that they do. So adding that in. The next change is on page 15, and that was the 12 versus 15. So in item D on the top of the page, I'll be going back to the number 15, which is what it originally was, and taking out 12. And that was as to height. The next change I have is on page 19, and that's in awnings. Currently, awnings did not have any changes, and the changes I'm going to be adding is that facades shall be supplemented by awnings.
Porticos.
Okay, which will be straight sheds, not cubed or curved with a drip edge, and it explains how the awnings are to be shaped. Remember, there is a non-conforming building provision, so currently awnings are kind of a not mandatory. They will be made mandatory. Okay? Sure,
Mayor?
everybody, council agrees?
Yes.
Awnings or porticos, I mean, a portico, it's basically, or a shed, you know, I don't know if you just make it exclusive to awnings. The idea is to bring it to the street.
John, do you know what language is certain? You're okay with that?
Good.
Okay, good. Carry on.
And I'll just add porticos in there also. So it'll be one or the other.
Okay, good. I don't know what that is, but go ahead.
The next change I have will be going over to, losing it, page 32 and 33. I'm going to be adding the word note 2 and note 3 in different places. Note 2 is already written down there, but I'll be adding it also to the top per the request of Ms. Genson. And I'll be adding a note 3, and that's going over into the townhome multifamily areas that a 5-foot side yard setback is required for single-family residences in sub-areas 4 and 5, because we don't want a single-family residence having a 0 setback, where we might want that for a townhome. So those are the changes I believe I have on that. Now, I do want to point out, I did talk to a gentleman, and I mentioned it to Mayor Nelson about note 2 earlier. I had expected him to come in, but if he's not here, this is staff recommendation.
Oh, he's here.
Oh, he's here. He just didn't
Okay.
want to talk during public comment.
Okay. All right, but you and I have had a discussion on
We
how,
had a
what,
dis-
there may be some solution to what he's wanting to do
I think
there.
so.
Okay, all right, good. You can have that discussion with him later.
Okay?
I bet after the meeting. Okay, anything else? Jackie, got anything else?
Hold on.
There was some discussion at public comment and also from council about strengthening the language of what we want to encourage or require for architectural style. Wasn't sure if you wanted to go ahead and discuss that.
Council,
Page 2.
this is just a suggestion, but can we leave the language as it is, but then let's delve into that deeper and figure out if we do want to keep it to 5 or 6 different design standards or something like that, and get a better feel for that, in getting some testimony for some architects on what that would do, or if it's a positive thing or a negative thing. Would that be all right, council? Just for now, all right? Good. For now, we'll leave it alone. Jackie, you have anything else?
No, I
Okay.
think we're good. Thank you.
Council, what's your pleasure? You want to go ahead and, is there a motion to approve? We got a motion right here and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
I with objection to primary colors.
Okay,
Issue.
It's true.
good deal. Item C, I believe, right?
Yes, and this is, I'll read the title block into the record. This is an amendment to Bonita Springs Land Development Code, amending and restating the general provisions chapter adopted pursuant to ordinance number 05-02, amending section 1-2, rules of construction to add definitions, amending section 1-5 related to enforcement of the land development code, amending section 1-11, deeming the comprehensive plan controlling, amending section 1-13, addressing amendments to the land development code, providing for conflicts of law, severability, codification, scrivener's errors, inclusion in code, and an effective date. This is the second reading. The first reading was held on July 17, 2013. I've reviewed the affidavit of publication, and it is legally sufficient. This is your first chapter of the Land Development Code. It's probably your smallest chapter. I've used it once or twice. Most of the changes are housekeeping, and it's outlined in the green sheet.
Okay, council, do you have any questions about the changes? I believe this was fairly simple.
I think
Is it not?
so.
Okay. And at this time, we have public comment on this as well, right? Okay. Any member of the public wishing to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do you have any other comment or the staff on this? Anything? Okay. Council, what's your pleasure?
Move the item.
Move the item?
Yes.
And second? Roll call, please.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Okay, Audrey, what's next?
Thank you. We have another second reading, and I'll read the title block into the record. This is an ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs setting forth the community development planning and zoning fees, providing for recording documents, repealer, providing for an effective date, providing for conflicts of law, severability, codification, scrivener's errors, inclusion in code, and an effective date. This is a second reading. The first reading was on July 17, 2013. I reviewed the affidavit of publication. It is legally sufficient. If you have questions as to any of the fees, you may ask Ms. Genson. I think they're all pretty straightforward.
Okay. All right, council. Hi.
Yep, I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize. Go
Something
ahead.
that was brought to my attention that we do. A lot of times we'll get some open records requests to make some photocopies of files, and some of them are really large, and we'll go ahead and outsource those to like reprographic companies, and we go ahead and assess the applicants whatever charge it was for us to do that work. It's not really reflected in this ordinance, and we might want to go ahead and do that.
We do have an administrative code for any city records,
And that covers
and I
us.
believe in here, let me just look here real quick. Any fees exceeding, so special services, I can add in document copy, I'll add something in here for special service charge.
Special service charge for making
Special
copies.
service, the
Printing charge.
public records law allows you to charge additional amounts if it takes over 15 minutes or if you incur additional costs.
Okay, you may want to reference that. Okay.
And that was all.
Anything else? That's it. Council, any questions? At this time, this is public comment on this too. So any member of the public wishing to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none. Council, what's your pleasure? Want to go ahead and approve this? Motion to approve, second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Okay, Audrey, do you have anything else under there?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Well done tonight. Well done. Okay, at this time, we're going to have public comment on any item. If any member of the public wishes to speak to council, please come forward on any item.
Good evening. For the record again, Kathy McGrath. I usually save my happy stuff for the last public comment, but I thought I'd interject it right now. I want to commend and thank Mr. Payno. I believe Aaron Thomas was the one who conducted the cleanup of Oak Creek last Saturday. Am I allowed to mention that one of the council members was also present?
Yes, I think you can.
Thank you. Martha, thank you very much. As you know, the Imperial River Conservancy has, since 1991, has conducted 2 cleanups a year. And we look forward and we're happy when anyone can help us. We unfortunately did not have a cleanup this spring, so maybe that's why it was so dirty. But anyway, I also would like to say that we're so pleased that the city has made the offer for us to partner with you for the 2 cleanups a year. I believe the first one will be the International Coastal Cleanup, which, if I'm correct, is September 21st, and then the Keep the Beautiful in Bonita. This is a win-win situation, and we're very, very pleased, and we thank you for offering it. And I just wanted to let you know that the monofilament program is very well. We just shipped off 2 huge boxes of monofilament to Pure Fishing Inc. in Spirit Lake, Iowa. And what's interesting is they use the monofilament, bobbers, and milk jugs, and they make fish habitat out of it, which they sell. They send us the boxes, they send us the labels. It's free shipping, so it's great. So we're very, very happy that we participate in that. And that's about it. Thank you for letting me bring this information forward. And thanks again, Mr. Pano. If anyone has not seen the upper regions of the Imperial River, I suggest they use his services and go on one of his ghost tours. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Fred Forbes, Fred Forbes for the record. Want to first compliment John Delmer and your chief building official. Hunter's Ridge is embarking on master planning and ultimately adding on to our clubhouse and adding a snack bar to our community pool. And I can say firsthand that the working relationship is really good. And I also want to tell you, I've been with at AIA meetings and the consensus, and this was an informal question I posed, how do you guys get along with Bonita Springs when plan review time comes versus other code enforcement agencies, other cities, the county, and so on? And the answer was that we do much better in Bonita Springs than the other places. So I know that you'll all be happy to hear about that. Last thing, you've done a great thing in adopting that you're going to streetscape, landscape the city. I would urge the same creative, outside-the-box thinking that went into that decision to dust off the vision of Bonita for 5 and 10 and 15 years and think just like you did on that, and we can really move this city way ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time? Please come forward.
Yeah, Rick Steinmeier again. I thought I heard Maria's Restaurant taken over by a church. Was it purchased by a church? I wasn't sure of that, but the question I have is, even with these farmers markets, do they pay sales tax? Since Florida lives on sales tax. Yes, we do. Can you imagine having a restaurant with no sales tax? Boy, that'd be it. Plus, having a training restaurant with a liquor license. It's one of the few liquor licenses in town because my uncle borrowed the money from my father to buy the license in the first place back in the 50s. So I'm not in favor of a halfway house with a liquor license. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hello.
Hello. Mary Mima with Bonita Springs Utilities.
Good to see you.
Thank you. It's always good to see the council. As part of our plan to reduce debt, we are pleased to report that we recently refinanced our 2003 series bonds at a rate of 1.26%,
Whoa.
which will ultimately save us over $7.6 million.
Oh, nice job.
Thank you.
You get one of these. Hey, hey, everybody.
Thank you.
Can I get the interest
That's
reduced on my
That's the sound
assessment?
that money makes when you make it. Anyway, sorry.
Yes, Alex Grant. This is, I guess, a reference to something that I missed on the agriculture districts. But I remember when I was on the local planning agency many years ago, we were discussing estate zoning. Has that ever, is this what is known as agricultural district 2, or what are you guys thinking in that regard?
Okay,
Nothing.
well, we'll address that, but thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. Audrey, did you hear Alex's question? if we're doing anything so far, I mean, as in regards to estate zoning or anything like that, there's no plans to do anything like that at the time? No.
As far as estate zoning, are we, in what area?
Comp plan.
Well,
We-
Alex, I would suggest that you talk to John.
We
Don't
have
remember right
estate-
there afterwards and-
Right, we
and
have
see-
it in
see
some
what's come
parts of
up.
the comp
Make the
plan.
suggestion.
The St. Croix Estate.
Okay, at this time, City Attorney's Report, do you have anything for us?
I have none other than the apologies that, I'm very happy. I want to thank City Council for letting me buy, you probably didn't know I did this in my budget. In legal, we all went and we got new computers to update and get a little bit better speed. Unfortunately, we did installations today, and we haven't synced my system here. So if you saw me looking a little frustrated, or if you saw me trying to read things off a telephone, to read emails that were things related to city business, I apologize, but I want to thank you again for the computers.
I wonder why you weren't sitting there doing your work. while-
Yes, it is
Yeah.
driving me nuts, and I've received therapy from Mr. Gucciardo.
I will withhold comment on the driving you nuts thing, but anyway.
It's not far to drive, but yes.
We know each other real well, we can say that, okay. Anyway, okay, and we are up to the city manager's report. Carl, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Items A and B both deal with the farmer's market request that you've heard about earlier, and of course that we have covered in the green sheets. And John Gucciardo will be taking both of these. John?
And while we would recommend that council vote on these items A and B separately, they should probably be considered at the same time because there are some issues that cross over on the two. As you can see from the green sheets, we tried to be pretty clear that staff has absolutely no objection, no problem with what both entities are proposing in terms of where they're going to be, what they're going to be doing. We did, however, have a little bit of anxiety about allowing both on Saturdays. And that has to do with just concerns about whether or not allowing both to operate on Saturdays, even though it is permissible, whether or not it makes sense in terms of an actual operational decision. There is concern, obviously, that if both operate on Saturdays, they'll both detract from one another and both could possibly underperform. So for that reason, we separated those two issues out. The recommendation from staff is to go ahead and allow Lions Club to operate as they have in the past on Saturdays, and to vary somewhat the application by the other entity. Obviously, council can do, whatever they deem is appropriate, but at least from staff's perspective, there are probably four choices. Laura, by the way, is here in case you have any particular questions about her dealings with both applications in detail. But the four choices from staff's perspective would be, obviously, to approve the second application as is, to allow them to operate on Saturdays, to approve it, I would say, conditionally, that is to let them operate on Saturdays and have staff monitor the situation to see if, in fact, there is issues relative to underperformance because they're both operating on Saturdays. The other recommendations would be to approve them to operate on a day other than Saturdays. Or the fourth choice, at least again from staff's perspective, is to just continue this request to allow us more time to see if there is some mutually agreeable solution to operating on a day other than Saturdays. In other words, not make an arbitrary decision, but let us try to work something out. Again, I want to stress that the ordinance as written does allow for two separate entities to operate on the same day. This is just a matter of bringing some concerns to the front before we went down that path, because we really don't want to do something that's going to have a detrimental effect on one or both of those entities. We'd like to see them both perform to the maximum and be a benefit to the community.
Okay, you're saying that both of them are allowed on a Saturday, both of them are allowed, but I thought, I was under the impression that this special event permit, it could only really technically happen 2 or 3 times, twice a year? Is that?
Oh, no,
Is that true?
It's different.
No.
No. So we could get 2, 3, 4, 5 more people coming in, technically, entities coming in, asking to have farmers markets.
No.
For for-profits, because we made a difference between private and nonprofit. I apologize, I would normally have my code in front of me. So,
Laura, no, that's okay. Laura, I'm going to make you talk. Hi, how you doing? Could you explain to everybody, for everybody's benefit, I mean, the rules so far as if you want to start a farmer's market, how many times a year does the code allow you to do it?
The code allows you to apply for 2 farmers markets that are private per year.
The only other farmers markets there, it doesn't actually outline the nonprofit farmers market. That would fall separately. But only 2 private farmers markets can be permitted to operate per year.
Well, yeah, just 2. In other words, if you're an entity, you can do 2. So technically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So technically, the farmers market that's applying for at the promenade over there, they could only do it twice in a year.
They could only do it once, correct? Because they can only go for 6 months at a time. Isn't that what my understanding is?
Just looking at
Sorry, I'm just
clarification.
trying to clarify.
No, they can continuously do it we've created, it's no longer under the special event ordinance,
Okay.
which used to restrict the number of days per calendar year that it could operate. We created a farmers market ordinance that permits seasonal operation of farmers markets, which could be every weekend within the season.
Okay.
So it could continuously be on Saturdays, but this entity that's applying, it would be considered one private farmers market. Another private corporation could apply and be your second farmers market. Those are the only 2 permitted citywide.
So there's only 2 permitted
Citywide that are private operations.
A nonprofit would fall separately.
Nonprofit organization, which is your other application from the Lions Club, is a separate entity. So you could have other nonprofit agencies request farmers markets as well.
Now, and before I get, humor me for a second, Audrey, how are we on this so far as when we go to judge who gets to have a permit and who doesn't? Are we allowed to weigh the economic effect it might have on somebody who is already opened up?
I think that would be a valid reason.
That would be a valid reason, okay? In other words, look, we don't want a proliferation. We don't want 3, 4, 5, 6 happening on Saturday because then no one profits from it. We're allowed to make that decision based on that.
That's the whole purpose of doing it as a
This is one of the reasons why we brought it as a requirement to be reviewed by the city council for final
Just
approval.
wanted to clarify that. Okay, council, any questions, comments? Yes, Janet.
Thank you very much. When we started the downtown market, we did it on a Wednesday specifically because we did not want to compete with the market on the Saturday, and we also didn't want to even compete with downtown Fort Myers as far away as their market. So I'm really concerned about the same day, creating a competition amongst them so that, like what Mr. Gucciardo just said, then no one succeeds. And, you can only have so many patrons of a farmer's market. So I do have concerns about that. And then I'm also concerned that we're talking about no other day but Saturday, but I also would like to throw in the mix no other day but Wednesday either, because I would not like to see any competition for that market. So I don't know where we go from there.
Okay, I got an idea, but go ahead.
Okay, well, Friday's a good day. Mayor, what about the use of the Flamingo Island markets? Because they have essentially farmers market on the outside of there too.
And Dolly's.
That's a private business.
Yeah,
and
that's covered in a development order.
Okay, so
Under
that
their zoning.
flea market is different than a farmer's market. Okay.
Right, that was under their zoning.
Yeah, so they're zoned permanently.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Stephen.
Just a comment. I'm really uncomfortable with any government getting its hands into private enterprise like we're trying to do here. I would opt for number 4, where we would ask city staff to go back and try to find a resolution of this, recognizing that it may not be possible, and I'm not dodging this question, I just don't think we should be involved if we don't have to be involved.
Okay, any other comments?
Well, the thing is that we have been. We created the Downtown Wednesday Market, Councilwoman Martin, so that we could, bring
Foot traffic downtown.
well, not only an agricultural footprint activity to downtown, but also so that there wasn't a vacancy of fresh fruits and vegetables, that whole thing.
Absolutely right, but we haven't
Right.
been asked to limit free enterprise as we are today.
Yes, but we did it.
Well, that's my suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
all right.
think it's a good idea.
All right. I would interject something in that conversation, and Steve, I would agree with you, but we do get into it every once in a while, and I'm going to go back to something my dad used to grouse about constantly, which was people selling stuff on the sides of the roads. when he had to build a store and have everything that he had to have, and he was like, well, look at the guy down the way setting up on the corner there selling stuff out the back of his truck. Why is that allowed when I have to do this? So that would be my fear. I think that's where we put ourselves potentially in a position of regulating farmers markets, because not even to protect other farmers markets, I don't think, because I think that, what about the groceries, what an actual grocery stores, or what about all of that? I mean, pretty soon you have to start thinking about the consequences of that, I think. So, and where does it end? Where does it end? I mean, we could argue that, you let the economy take care of itself and they'll go out of business or stay out of business or whatever as they come in and out. But I think we have to insert ourselves somewhere along the line there. But Council, I'm up to whatever the challenge you're up to. If you want to send this back to staff to come up with something, I don't know what you would come up with, but Audrey?
Perhaps the motion should be, since the focus seems to be the Saturday issue, approve one of them for the Saturday, I presume Bonita Springs Lions Club, but I don't want to be totally presumptuous, the existing as opposed to the future, and then authorize staff to go forward and approve treat it as an approval of the special event permit contingent upon local routes changing their day to a day that is either amenable to you or a day that's not Saturday.
Or Wednesday.
Council, I would suggest something similar to that, but I'll just make a suggestion that we go ahead and approve the Lions Club application for Saturday, and then we ask that council go back and before next meeting, go ahead and negotiate something out with the other staff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said staff, didn't I? Okay, staff. Staff to go back and negotiate something out with the other entity and see if they can't come to a consensus.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Motion, I'll
That is
second.
that
Second.
motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion, a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the president of the Lions Club, Miss Catherine Lau, stated succinctly that they put money back into our community, no offense to local roots, but they have a history of 50-plus years of supporting our community. We got $40,000, this city council got $40,000 from them last year for putting in, and maybe it's conflict of interest for us, but to put into a city park. And they build an iBank, and they take care of the people, and they started the assistance office. And by the way, we have the assistance office come to our city parks and ply their wares so we support them. I don't think this is anything different than that, making a decision in their favor, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Everybody understand?
Mm-hmm.
Roll call.
Councilman Slakta?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Okay, that takes care of A and B, right?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item C.
Actually, I can talk a little bit about C, D, and E altogether if you wish. And of course, we did cover this with you individually as well, so you know what's going on here in terms of this. This is basically a couple of things happening. Number one, the Community Development Department, CH2M Hill, requesting additional personnel, basically to keep up our levels of service. We've heard good comments even tonight about the service that our Community Development Department supplies to the industry. We want to keep those service levels high. Our permits and our activities for a wide variety of issues, including planning issues and building issues, continue to increase. That's, of course, a good sign that the economy is coming back. But in order for them to meet not only customer expectations, but the expectations we've placed in the contract for them in terms of service levels, in order to maintain those and enhance those, they need to have the resources in order to do that. They are asking for an additional building inspector and a planning permit individual. Those would both be paid for out of building fees, which cannot be used for anything else other than being plowed back into those types of operations on that side. They are also asking for a planner to basically be able to free up some of the more experienced planners to work on some of those initiatives that the council and the staff continues to ask them to look into. And that would be, we think, a great thing in terms of supplying better service and allowing more timely responses on some of those issues. And then that would be the general, that would be a hit to the general fund, so that we're all clear on that. That is not a building fee issue. And then the last thing they're asking for is for council consideration of a 1.8% increase on basically both contracts. This is under one contract, but it has two parts to it, if you will, the building side and the planning side. And they're asking for a 1.8% increase on both sides of that. So the portion that applies to building would be paid out of building fees. The portion that applies to the planning side or the soft side of the operation would be paid for out of the general fund. Staff is recommending approval of this based on the fact that we do want to continue our good service and our levels of service to our customers.
Council, if you have any questions, that's fine, but if I will entertain a motion to approve all three when you get ready.
That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to move it.
Okay, motion to approve all three. There's a second. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, why are we not dealing with this at budget time and we're doing it now?
Well, because first off, we've already talked about it at the budget hearing. All right, so yes, we are expecting to do a portion of this right of way. A portion of it can wait until October 1st, until the new budget year. But I will tell you now that one of the reasons that CH2M Hill is in front of us now as opposed to later is because our service levels are stretched right now. And we've got customers who are not receiving the level of service that they've come to expect from us right now. And that's why we're coming early. So, and John, if you want to.
Yep, thank you, thank you.
That
That's
was,
good.
they want to follow up.
Good. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Thank you, John. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Councilman McIntosh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Aye, since they decreased their contract last year, okay.
Good.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Okay.
That's
Carl,
all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Good, thank you very much. And
Sorry, John's got a few things.
what, him?
Actually, just some very quick updates. I'll try to make this as quick as I can.
All right.
At your last meeting, you dealt with an appeal by a property owner on Oakland Carpenter about the mobile home, and you asked us to bring that back. I just wanted to inform you that we have been in communication with the property owner and some of his representatives. We've mutually agreed to put that off for 30 days. In the meantime, staff is working on some options that the city can propose in terms of city involvement in trying to come to some resolution. But I also want to indicate that soon after that meeting, we were contacted by people in the private sector, and there are conversations going on right now from the private sector. There may be some other solutions that can be worked out that are mutually agreeable, and we hope to report that back in 30 days.
Excellent. I'm glad that you're working on that. I appreciate it. What else you got?
The second thing I wanted to remind you of is that you all should have gotten invitations from the Lee County Public Safety folks about an open house at the Emergency Operations Center. It's going to be during the day on Friday, and there is the possibility, if you want to make arrangements for private tours with the new public safety head, to go through that on what they're calling a VIP tour beyond the normal presentation, which I think is going to be about 11:30 on Friday.
Okay.
The third thing, the Library Task Force, you passed a resolution about a year ago that reestablished the Library Task Force, and the terms of that resolution called for the task force to disband after 1 year. That's again because that task force was designed to address a particular set of issues, which they have done. They will be officially disbanded as of this September. We've communicated through Councilman Longcart as the liaison with the chair of the task force and the members. They're all fine, I think, with that plan to let them disband because, frankly, based on very encouraging conversations with the Lee County Library staff, we are hoping to hear about the study that we're looking for to be kicked off potentially still in this fiscal year or soon after the next fiscal year. By disbanding, the members of the task force will be able to participate in that study more freely, basically, and with less restriction in terms of having to post meetings and minutes and those kind of things. So what we're hoping for is that the Lee County Library staff is able to move forward in the way that they think they have been given direction from the Board of County Commissioners. Our members of the Library Task Force will be able to participate in the ongoing studies, and at some point, working with staff, we'll bring that back to council, and at that point, you can think about reestablishing the task force.
Good. Excellent. Yeah, any questions for John? Okay, good. Thank you very
much.
Any other staff comment? Nope. Okay, we are mayor and council member items and reports. And Bill, do you have anything for us today?
I do, Ben. A few weeks ago, I had a request out east about the gullies not being very clean, with trees going into the gully and so forth near Worthington Country Club. And of course, what I love about this is that you make a phone call here to the City Hall and you get the Public Works Department, and Dave Liccardi is the person I spoke with about this. And of course, then we wait. Well, I want to tell you that they did a fantastic job of cleaning out the trees, and it really looks nice. So that's a positive thing. And the second thing is I met with Meg Weiss, our human resource person, and we had a very good discussion. And I learned about the part-time person that's it's contemplated in the budget session. And she did a very good job with working with Carl and Lisa on the funding and of the particular program that had to do with absenteeism and vacations. So other than that, everything is good, and Benita's moving along very well.
Thank you very much, Bill. Martha, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Mayor. Several things. One is, maybe some of us have received letters from Larry Newell from Estero about the Lee Memorial Hospital. And I've asked Audrey a couple of questions about what is our position for intervening, and we don't have any standing to intervene as far as the hospital goes. It's both the hospitals' deal. And then after that's done, that recommendation is made to the director of the appropriate health agency in the state, and then they come out and give their decision. That agency is under the governor, and I'm wondering if council would like to discuss maybe at the next meeting, not at this because it's not on the agenda, but to think about it, and maybe ask our lobbyist to give us some suggestions, because she did work for a health agency under Jeb Bush, which way she would feel would be most appropriate, if it is appropriate, for us to approach the governor on this issue, both ourselves, our delegation, our county commissioners, because this is vital to South Lee County, this hospital. And I think if we just kind of let it go to after November, and when the decision comes, there's no political will that's been built up, it might not work out real well. So we do have a chance here, and it is election year. So, he wants everybody to be happy. I would like to ask if you think about that for the next meeting, and I'll be putting on the agenda under council member items, unless somebody else wants to put it on the main menu. But it's an important topic. Okay, next.
Well, I want to address that.
Yes, Mayor.
Real quick.
Because we can't, otherwise.
Probably
right.
about 5 years ago, we formed the Estero Bonita Springs Hospital Committee.
Yes.
Larry's a great guy, and he writes very lengthy and very articulate emails all the time, and great guy and everything like that. But the thing is that Don Eslick, Scotty Wilson, Dave Schellenberger, and some of these other people that are working on this hospital committee are working tirelessly. I mean, every day with the Lee Memorial staff, with their public relations people, with their attorneys. They have a really concise plan. I tell you, it's an amazing thing to watch. They've really got this well in hand. And Lee Memorial is not without their lobbying efforts, and they have let us know that whenever they need something from us, if they needed a letter to the governor, if they need a letter to this person, that person, they ask for it. They're not embarrassed or bashful. So what I wouldn't want to do, and I appreciate your caring about this, because we should all care about it, but what I don't want to do is interfere with that process. It's like any other committee. When you've got a committee that's working hard on it, you don't want to do something as a tangent on it, because it may interfere with that progress.
And that's why I was going to ask if we could have Carol check that out and make sure that we're in a good position and that committee's doing great, and Jim
Yep.
Nathan's
And the best thing
fine
in the
with it.
world to do is to talk to Lee Memorial and talk to Susan Raddick and be sure that there's nothing that's the stone that's one unturned. So, but anyway, go ahead. And
Yeah,
carry on with the rest of the
okay. God bless Manny Moronio, the city of Sweetwater, our former Florida League city's president. We'll be having a new president in about a week, and you're going to the league. We'll be going. Both are serving. Councilman Simmons and Simons, the Bobbsey twins, are going to the Florida League of Cities next week, and we'll let you know all the new stuff that's coming up. I did get to go on Oak Creek. Wow. I also got to go about 5 feet in muck up to about here. It's a really deep creek, but it's not flowing real well. So I look forward to getting those funds to work on the creek real soon. That's going to be majestic. It's you know what? Hard to say, but it's prettier than the upper Imperial River back in those parts. You wouldn't believe it. It's just amazing, but it's pretty difficult to get through. So I don't have much else to speak to today. So happy birthday, Councilman Lonkart, Councilwoman Martin, and y'all have a great couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. Pete, what you got for us, sir?
I spoke with Carl about this and a little bit, and just want to kind of have a brief discussion. At the last meeting, I had mentioned the possibility of discussing changing the name of Old 41, and I guess I'd like to start quickly by saying I'm not in the business of changing the names of roads. I mean, Route 1 in New Hampshire is Route 1. We call it Lafayette Road. A lot of the towns do through there. It's always Route 1. It always will be. I'm not in the market of changing the name of Route 75. That's what it is. Route 41 is Route 41. The point of what I brought up is for marketing purposes, if the Economic Development Council thought it was a good idea, if us as leaders thought it was a good idea, to have a name, Old 41 is Old 41. That's how it is. It's not up to me to change that name. If we would like to have another name like Route 1 in New Hampshire, that's also known as Lafayette Road, if we would like to have Old 41, to have a name that would be more marketable, more helpful, in our vision here moving forward, that was my point. And there are electronic signatures floating around town right now, both pro and con, and I think we've all seen those. And there seems to be a real groundswell here and interest on both sides of this issue. So what I'd like to propose is that I'd like to sponsor, or however we do that, formally and legally, Audrey, I'd like to have a town hall meeting here, for lack of a better term, here at City Council, or a meeting, or at some other location, wherever the location may be, to discuss this issue, get input on this issue. I've asked about the update from the Economic Development Council, where they are. I don't think they're really much of any place at this point, and this certainly is not a pressing issue, anything that we need to, but a constituent of mine, Jesse Purden, who's in the crowd tonight, has offered to help get feedback. I mean, he's involved and talks to a lot of business owners on Old 41 and a lot of places in Southwest Florida. So whatever the appropriate forum may be to talk about this issue, I'd like to work through that and move forward with that, however we do that. And last but certainly not least, 14 years ago, today, I was married in Ann Arbor, Michigan with my wife, Suzanne, and who is actually at the concession stand right now at the Estera High School, monitoring cheerleading and football practice. And I just want to say happy anniversary, honey. I love you.
Aww.
Bring some hot dogs.
Yeah, you're gonna get hot.
My how life has changed. Right?
I'll be darned. Okay. Well, thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
Thank you. What do you got for us?
Yeah. While we're on the subject of Old 41, Carl, what is the? I've been forwarding from people from my district to Jane as requested. What is the status? How long do we keep on doing this? Is there a deadline? What's the next step?
You're talking about the proposed name change?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's been a number of submission of suggested name changes to Old 41, or maybe more appropriately, name additions to Old 41. If the council is interested in having a town hall meeting to kind of get everybody's opinion on that in one place and one time, we can certainly do that. It's probably going to be, that would probably be at least another couple of weeks before we could put that together realistically. So my guess is maybe another month. I don't know. It really kind of what council wants us to do. But if council wants us to put together a public forum, we're happy to do that.
Let's have a quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
And I think that's right. I mean, you know, certainly this isn't meant to be a town hall meeting when the majority of the people are not here. September, October, as we creep back into season here, I think would be a more appropriate time.
Oh, you want to wait till later? That's
Well, I don't really
fine.
want to wait forever, but I want to
Right.
wait till.
Pete, I really appreciate where you and Martha were coming from on this. It's been talked about before and everything like that, and I don't mean to rain on any parade or anything like that, but I would just like to suggest that I think that we've got really full plate right now, and when it comes to like priorities of the things that we need to be working on, annexations, negotiating with communities, we've got a whole list. We're going to be spending the next 4 to 5 to 6 months spending a lot of time in the communities to the north of here, talking to them, giving them information, supplying them things, preparing for a referendum. So I just think that
An election.
in all honesty, I think that we're also burning up a lot of the people's time up there, you know, worrying about whether it's going to be Old 41, whether I'm going to change my address. It just seems as though that probably we probably need to maybe put that on hold for a while. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea or a good idea. I just think right now, man, we got other fish to fry, and I think that everybody's burning up too much time and energy on this. And staff would probably I don't even know, I haven't asked them this, but they've got a lot of stuff to do. And I wouldn't want to put them to task them with doing a workshop on whether to make a name change at this point, because we need to concentrate on the stuff that's on our plate. And I think you'd agree that in order of importance, that's probably got to be it right there. Mm-hmm. So I would ask council, I ask you, Pete, respectfully, I mean, maybe we can put this off until we get this other referendum out of the way, and then go ahead and do that.
Happy to do so.
Would that be all right?
Yeah.
All right.
Mayor?
Council, what do you think? Is it okay?
Yeah, because, you know, I'm not willing to vote past Old Tamiami Trail anyhow, so
Well-
you know how I am with the old road names.
Yeah.
Remember Imperial Parkway? We got that done, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
That's fine with me.
With that, you know, you guys can all
He feels all disappointed
stop
and
with
stuff.
the emails, okay? All right. Because, I mean, you know what? If you got some great ideas, we want to hear them. We always want to hear them. But I don't think that there was any danger. And I think your message to the public, there's no danger in you changing your address. You were just looking for an also known as idea.
Right.
And maybe a name for the area in general. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But for right now, let's keep at it with what we got on our plates here. And thank you very much. So go ahead, Steve.
And Kathy, I just want to thank you and your group for the monofilament, because that was Richard Fierre's, you know, baby, and I know he'd be thrilled to death. So, but thank you all for what you do. Yep. Okay.
Okay, Janet, what you got?
I've got something really very exciting.
Yes.
The Charlotte Harbor National Estuary Program, they put out their little newsletter. And in the summer edition, when I was flipping through, they have listed their special places. Now, this is a large geographical area, and there is a special place in my heart that made this list, and that's the Bonita Nature Place. Yep. And this list includes places like Moat Marine, Ding Darling, Lover's Key, and a whole host of other state parks, and our little nature place made that list. So this is awesome. So I want to thank everybody that has supported that nature place, including council all along and staff, for all their help in making it what it is, a special place, which is just awesome. In reading this and in listening to the news lately, there's something else that's near and dear to my heart, and everyone else's too, and that's the condition of the Gulf. And we're seeing a lot of publicity and a lot of things going on recently about the water releases from Lake Okeechobee and the effects that it's having on the color of the water. And I have to tell you, it is having an effect on tourism. I met some people who said they came here and they were expecting beautiful beaches, and beautiful beaches in their estimation included turquoise-colored water, and it's not that. So I would like to ask council's support for us to find out what other efforts locally are being done to support the solution so that we could piggyback onto that. Because I think this is an extremely important thing, because you don't want people going home and saying, ugh, the water was ick, because they're not going to come back. So this is a huge, huge, huge thing that needs to be addressed, I believe. So I'd like to see us do something, so thank you.
Well,
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll have Jim Beaver shoot you some stuff, okay, from Agency
Awesome.
on Bay Management,
Awesome.
because like, you know, the whole thing about the C-43 reservoir where that water was going to go, kind of put on hold.
Mm-hmm, I know.
And we need to take up
Yep.
where Carla Johnson left off.
Carl, you just got I forwarded that from Larry Kiker had sent that information over about what they were doing. We could work in conjunction with them as well, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And we also know that Sanibel's been active doing some things as
Okay,
well.
Yep.
good.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Stephen?
This lovely fella sitting here is the Tin Man.
Yep. Yep.
And thanks to Mandy Martin and Recreation for creating a competition among city council members for the Bonita Assistance
Departments.
Food Bank.
City
So,
departments, not
ci-
just council.
What'd I say?
Yeah.
Sorry.
City
Thank you.
departments, yeah.
City departments.
Then-
And the reason why it sits here on the council dais is because city council is leading this competition.
Of course.
Well over 200 pounds of food donated by city council and residents in these various districts. So I put the charge out to my city council members to catch up with District 1, now at 195 pounds of food.
Oh, that's only 4 canned hams, so. I got that covered.
The trick is to buy lots of water, lots of water. But thank you very much, Mandy, for putting this on. And
Army
and
surplus.
Thanks to my fellow council members, and I say with all genuineness, I am honored to work with a city government with this much compassion. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all your work. I've got one thing here. I hesitated to say anything today about it, but I think it's really good for the entire community. I received an invitation from Governor Scott to come have dinner with him at the governor's mansion on the 27th. One of probably, I think it's probably 25 people, 40 couples or so, or 40 people altogether, 25 couples. And it was it's just that many leaders across the state who've done some things or whatever. And I want to thank council for giving me that opportunity by making this city so great. I want to thank you people all for doing everything that you do. Everybody in the city of Bonita Springs made this happen. And that's the kind of focus that the governor knows where Bonita Springs is. So thank you very much for everything you do. And,
Congratulations.
Awesome. Yeah, congratulations to you.
You want to take a canned ham with you?
I think it'd be a good idea. I may have to bring a bag lunch. But anyway, okay, and that does it for our items there. Approval of minutes.
So moved.
So moved.
Oh,
I think
Mayor,
that was
I
almost
just
a
need an
vote.
amendment on one of the minutes, and I'm sorry, because I don't remember which one it was, but it was the suggestion that streetlights should be made out of, energized by gas. That wasn't that wasn't what I was talking about. It was about neon signs and argon signs, and gas, okay? So we'll correct that, and I'll find it for you. Okay, Mayor?
Okay, all right. I with some kind of correction to
We don't need
that.
gas streetlights, okay?
There's
I'm
a
not
motion, a
recommending.
second, to approve the minutes as approved. Roll call.
Councilwoman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Slackton?
Aye.
Mayor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Simmons?
Aye.
Councilwoman Simons?
Yeah.
Councilman Longcart?
Aye.
Councilman McIntosh?
Yep.
Okay, last chance for public comment. Anyone wish to speak this time, please come forward.
Last chance, Rick Steinmeier. Anybody go down Hickory Boulevard lately, you'll notice that the Bonita Beach Improvement Association has planted
Go ahead. We'll try to keep it moving.
10 very huge foxtail plants. So now we got about 225 palm trees that we planted along Hickory Boulevard over the years. Neil Arnell is currently our president. He replaced Winston Church, who became vice president, so there's not a big change there. As far as Old 41, well, it had a bad connotation there for a while, but since it became a city and we removed a lot of the population, the prostitutes and the drug dealers, I think maybe we ought to call it the new Old 41. Since the city made it nice. It's a little boring, but anyways. As far as the Gulf of Mexico, when they dumped that lake, you know, I just happened to live, fortunate, blessed enough to live on the Gulf. And the water is blue and the water is brown, and the water's coming south, and there's those bubbles that you see in polluted water, and, you know, and come on down, and just it's been brown for the last 2 weeks. It's disgusting. And seaweed and people trying to fish and they pull seaweed out. It's you know, I happened to read that they dumped the lake the day before, a couple of days before. It's horrendous. Man-made problem.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Jean Bear again with the local roots. And I guess I just wanted to take one last opportunity while I could to summarize a little bit about what I heard tonight. I guess I'm a little surprised that you've chosen the decision to table this and put it back on the staff. We feel in good faith we came here, we filled out the permit, we followed the ordinance that you've written, and I'm not sure it was in your packet, but there seemed to be some confusion even amongst the council that in your own ordinance, under number B, it says a maximum of 2 private farmers markets may be permitted to operate at the same time. 2 private at the same time. Only one came before you tonight. We are the only private farmers market that has applied, and you've chosen to table it. You address in your own ordinance your non-for-profit separately. So I feel as if you're not approving any, and we are following the ordinance that you yourself have drafted. We are a small business in Lee County. We have over 70 vendors that we work with, that we allow them a platform to operate their own small private businesses, and they in turn provide taxes and all the appropriate fees that go back into Lee County. And we are proud of that. We are 6 years established, and we have helped a tremendous amount of small businesses launch and to become bigger and better and to grow themselves financially. The promenade is a beautiful setting. The city has come to recognize that as a great venue for the farmers market. As I mentioned earlier, Saturday is the only day that works because of the overflow parking situation that is needed. You've got banks back there, different institutions that allow people to overflow park there. A Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, that's not going to work. So Saturday really is the only option. We've worked with the city on that. We've talked about that on several occasions, that an alternate day isn't going to work at that promenade location. It's beautiful. It's something that you should showcase. And again, I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to look at the video that we had put together, but we bring to you, the city of Bonita Springs, a very professionally, high-quality run, true green market, which is what you want. You've addressed in your ordinance to do away with the baseball caps and the sunglasses and the things that make up a flea market. I love flea markets. They have a venue. But you've decided that you no longer want that, and that's why RLR came to us, because that's the type of markets that we operate at Sanibel Lakes Park and Fenway South. It is a completely different look. Again, that doesn't mean that the Lions Club can't continue to operate the type of market that they've had in the past, but you have addressed that you want there to be changes. Because of that, I would suspect that both of the markets are going to be smaller. We don't anticipate being larger than 40 or 45 vendors. You probably had 90 vendors there last year. The Lions Club is also going to be smaller, and because of that, the revenues that you see going back into the community will probably be 50% of what they were last year. Please note that I did talk earlier that we allow other non-for-profit organizations to come. Last year alone at the City of Sanibel, Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation was there with a booth, and they had a donor give $100,000 that day to the City of Sanibel to go towards the purchasing of land. So if we were to go and find out the economic impact of all non-for-profits within the community that could participate, I guarantee you it will be more than the $40,000 that we've talked about. And I think what the Lions Club do is great. But I'm curious why they're not being asked to look at a different day. The location they've chosen would operate just as easily on a Thursday. I think they're already planning for a Thursday. And again, I just want to bring your attention back to the fact that we are following the ordinance that you have in place. And I guess I'm really shocked that you have asked to table it. We don't have time to table it. Growers are planting their fields.
I'll give a couple more minutes to
Thank
sum
you.
up.
I'm almost summed up. Thank you. Growers have to plant now. We have 3 farmers that are committed to our markets. Venus Veggies out of Venus, they need to know how many markets they're going to be in because they're planting their fields right now. For us to table it for another 4 weeks, 6 weeks, that's not reasonable for us to expect businesses to do that. We have commitments from some great people that you've had there before. 40 individuals that have operated at the Promenade in the past have committed to be with us. You are now asking those 40 small businesses to consider going to a new location on a Saturday, which is going to take more marketing, more energy. It takes a while to get a new market going. It takes a while. So you're not just not helping Local Roots LLC, a small business in Lee County. You are hurting potentially 40 small businesses that have already committed to us that are established at that location. So again, I'm surprised that you've asked to table it and would ask that you please reconsider that. We are the only for-profit farmers market that has applied.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Jesse Purden, and actually, I'd just like to speak to you briefly about the Old 41 renaming issue that we just discussed. Though you expressed...
Go ahead, step up to the mic a little bit more. I want to hear it. There you go.
Though you expressed that it didn't necessarily, there were bigger fish to fry, and I understand that's true.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody were to put on a public forum, a nonpartisan public forum, whereby the business owners who, whether you feel that way or not, are concerned about the issue and want to have substantive talk about it, because quite frankly, just engaging them like Peter has is great. It's great. There's a groundswell, and that's not a pain. That's a good thing. To have a groundswell and have people care means they're going to pay attention to the rest of the redistricting of the historic district, which is the point. And then we won't be here worried about hot dog carts and dollar stores. We'll be talking about substantive issues that have to deal with the community. And I feel that if somebody were to put it on, I'll just put it out there, not to put you on the spot, you specifically or anybody else, if somebody were to put it on at right down the street in a nonpartisan way, would you come? Would you participate? Would you come and talk to the business owners up and down Old 41? Like Tony Bacos over at Old 41 Restaurant. He's the leader of what I call La Resistance. Okay? Obviously, he has a vested interest in not changing it. Peter's not saying change it. He's saying let's talk about it. And the name, whether you want to consider it small potatoes or not, is significant because the name is the package of what we're going to try to sell the rest of Bonita and say that this is going to be a huge part of potentially what we expect to see in regards to growth. So, with that being said, if somebody, if it's not put on the staff, if it's put on in a nonpartisan way, right here, right down the street, will you come? And will the rest of you come?
No, I won't come.
No one
but
will.
These people may go ahead.
And why, Mayor? Would you
We'll
not
talk later about that, but you go ahead and finish your comments.
That's really all I had. I just wanted to see if it was put on in a non-forum whereby you didn't have to do the work or your staff didn't have to do the work, if you being the mayor would come and participate, at least come to the event and maybe chime in on your 2 cents on the issue. And I understand if you don't want to because it's a tough issue. I mean, it's
not a tough issue.
I don't necessarily, as the mayor, I don't know if I would want to chime in myself. Maybe I'd stay out of it. And I understand that if that's your deal. But if not, I just want to put it out there to you that if somebody were to do it, would you come? That's all I want to know.
Okay.
If someone does it, will you come? And I ask that of everybody on the board as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Please come forward.
Good evening,
Hi.
Kathy McGrath. Just 60 seconds. I just want to add on to the comments that Councilwoman Martin did. I had the opportunity to have TV on before I came here, and unfortunately, the Lake Okeechobee issue is worse than we even think. They talked to the colonel. He was on the phone. I can't think of his name. You know his name. He said there's more water coming in right now than going out. He says the situation is not going to get better until next year, maybe. And that was the quote. You'll hear it on the news tonight.
Thank you, Kathy.
I'm sorry, but
That's
I
okay.
just wanted to
Thank
let you
you.
know. Thanks.
Anyone else this time? Please come forward.
Lisa Bram, RLR Investments. I am also perplexed by your decision. The reason for ordinances is so you have guidelines to follow, and I understand your intention was to limit farmers markets. That is why your resolution reads a maximum of 2 farmers markets on the same day. I don't see how you can legally deny local routes as you haven't surpassed the maximum 2 on the same day. So am I to assume you plan to add to your next agenda to revise this ordinance B to read only 1 on the same day? RLR is counting on local routes, as we already know they attract traffic, and traffic attracts tenants, and tenants solicit jobs, and jobs sustain your community. We know this formula works because RLR has delivered it on Sanibel. In 2005, we bought almost 7 vacant plazas, renovated them, and filled them with tenants. And this single-handedly revived the retail community and created hundreds of jobs. And it was a domino effect because when our plazas were full, incoming businesses went next door. So if you want Bonita Springs to thrive, you can't shut down incoming businesses because you're worried the existing businesses' sales will suffer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time, please come forward. Seeing none, that's the end of public comment. Staff, thank you very much. And along this subject, when you come back and after you've talked with these applicants on the farmers market, would you please pull the minutes to those meetings where we developed this policy at? Because the reason we developed this policy was a temporary accommodation for the hard times that we were under. And it was also because there wasn't an accommodation for any farmers markets except for 2 or 3 times a year. You could apply for it 2 or 3 times a year. And that was it. We weren't even going to let the Lions Club do it. So I want to make that clear that there's some history that is not being talked about here. So could you please pull that? All right? Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
You got it, Mayor.